resolution.
Yeah, got it. Good afternoon. The Sacramento City Council will come to order. Let's call the roll, please, to establish a quorum.
Councilmember Ashby. Here. Councilmember Warren. Here. Councilmember Harris. Here. Vice Mayor Hanson. Here. Councilmember Carr. Here. Councilmember Jennings. Here. Councilmember Guerra. Here. Councilmember Jennings. Here. Councilmember Chenier. Here. And Mayor Steinberg.
Here. As I understand, Councilmember Guerra, we're going to postpone
Yes, we have some conflicts with the special presentation, so we'll move it to the next council.
No worries. Okay, very good. Is there public testimony on items not on the agenda?
No, I have public testimony on the consent calendar.
Okay, we do. Let's take up the consent calendar. Are there members want to? Are there members who want to take any item off, or?
Mr. Mayor, I do want to read into the record that Councilmember Jennings is going to abstain from voting on item number 10 because he has a remote interest in the contract under Government Code Section 1091B1, and his spouse is an officer of the contracting party. So he's abstaining from just item number 10 on the consent calendar.
I would not mind a brief presentation on file item 10, if that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Since we have public comment on something, maybe we could do that and move the balance of the consent calendar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Move it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been moved, with the exception of 10, because I'd like to talk about it. Okay, so we're going to separate at 10 and 11. I'm going to take the motion to be items 1 through 9. That's been moved by Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilmember Guerra. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain. So I'd like to hear just a very brief presentation on file item 10, please. Ms. Kashiri or Erica? Welcome to you.
And your public testimony is on 10 and 11.
Public testimony is on 10 and 11.
Council members, good afternoon. Just wanted to take this time to give you a very, very brief update on 1,000 Strong and really move into why it's important that we really push through item 10. As you know, when we first started 1,000 Strong, we really want to hit on 3 things. How do we get youth, high schoolers in particular, real work experience? How do we get them connected to employers in a way that they're compensated for the work that they do? And how do we actually support them along the way? This is both with technical training, soft skills training, and any other career coaching that comes into play. And first year was scrappy, definitely scrappy in many ways. Wanted to make sure that these employers who most had not hired 16 to 18-year-olds on their payroll before were excited about sort of going into kind of new pursuits, new opportunities with these youth. And with that, we got a lot of great things that came from it, things that we expected. One of the main things we expected is the kids really felt empowered either to find their own jobs, empowered to do their interviews, empowered to really succeed on the job. But as a next step, we really kind of saw some other things we really weren't expecting from these types of experiences. Some things that were actually connected to other youth that were not at their schools, that they were like, hey, we're really excited that we don't normally get this opportunity to connect with these youth on a different level. Other ways that they were really excited about this opportunity is they had new post-secondary pursuits. Many students had jobs where they realized that, hey, if I really want this job as a career, I need to go get some some education outside of high school. So they had these new pursuits that they went for afterwards. Others got to present in front of hundreds and thousands of people. I don't know about you guys, but it took me a long time to be able to present in front of thousands of people. That opportunity was afforded to these youth because they were part of this program. And lastly, there were pioneers. With a lot of these employers, like I said, they had not actually hired high school students on board on their payroll before, ever. So this was a time for them to not only hire students on for the first time, but for something that could be done in perpetuity. So these youth weren't just doing things for themselves, they were actually making way for those youth behind them. So working with these youth, there were several reasons they joined the program. One of the main ones, of course, was, Mom. Mom asked me to join the program. They're really excited Mom did. Others were like, somehow you chased me down, and after 3 calls that I got from you, decided I should go ahead and join the program. So I want to thank our community-based organization partners for doing that. And the last one that's really important to address is that one of the reasons that I kept hearing over and over again that youth joined 1,000 Strong was because they kept hearing no. They kept hearing, no, they weren't prepared, no, they weren't ready, no, they weren't the right people for this job, right person for this job. This was the first time they heard a yes when it came to this opportunity. This becomes more and more important as internships in these jobs are the first entryway into sort of a future career in these spaces. But they weren't getting these opportunities. They were being turned away time and time again. So we had more and more students that were coming to us saying, thank you. Thank you for at least giving me that first job and networking me with these employers. On the other side, we had employers who are now seeing these students as valuable assets, and not just someone who's going to trouble them in the corner, when they really need to get work done that they're paid to do. We had to sort of tell employers, hey, your time of the student is up. And they had to peel them away from those students because they were so excited the energy they brought to those employment opportunities. So we were excited to have them there as well. You now have employers that are earmarking dollars specifically for this program. That's going to be huge as we talk about sustainability. So they're not just saying, hey, we're going to pay these youth. We're going to make sure there's money there year after year so these youth continue to be paid in the program. And lastly, they're really upping their game this year. We found that employers last year maybe had 1 student they brought on board for an internship or a job opportunity. This year, they're upping it. Some of our employers went from 5 students to 10 students this next year. We had one particular employer went from 1 to 6 students, and we continue to see that year after year because they're a little less tepid this year about engaging with youth after they do it one time. They realize, hey, this is something that's exciting, and it's also impacting directly the communities we're working with. One thing I do want to point out, the students that we do work with, though, are those from impacted communities. They're not kind of those that we cream from the top. They are those who really wanted to open up the access to many opportunities in this space. So we're really excited to have Greater Sacramento Urban League as one of our training partners in this work, so that year after year we can get better at training and making sure we're preparing the youth for their future.
If I may,
Oh, yeah.
okay, what will the Urban League be doing with the public resources called for in here in terms of the training? Will they be responsible for training all of the 300 to 400, maybe 500 students that we're going to recruit this year to actually get closer to the name of the program, 1,000 Strong?
So they will be focused on our 16 to 18-year-old cohort.
Okay.
They'll be training 250 to 300 youth for this initial year.
Fabulous, 40 hours.
40 hours of training, correct.
And then connected to some of their employer contacts and connections as well as we try to place those
Absolutely.
students.
And they're on board too. They are also taking on 1,000 Strong interns. They are committed to that as well. So we're super excited to have them on board as a partner. So thank you so much.
We've got a couple, we do have one person who wants to testify. Let's take that, please. Thank you.
So I have Michael Voy, who would like to speak on item number 10 and 11.
Michael? No, of course. Welcome, welcome.
Afternoon, everyone. Items 10 and 11, in view of the recent occurrences and ongoing reasons, these are very important programs for the city to be engaged in, and I support this wholeheartedly. Along with that, I would say that the proposal for the mathematics workshop is still on the table. It's important because it strengthens these youth before they get to a program like the ones that you're funding. So I'd like to, again, request that there be some consideration given to that. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Really appreciate it. Let's hear from members of the council on items 10 and 11, because I know Councilmember Warren wanted to speak regarding item 11. So, Councilman Chenier.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things really quickly. So I think this is great. I want to congratulate the Urban League, and I think as we continue to do this, we're going to get better every year at how we do it and what we do. I want to make sure that we're not missing opportunities. So my point here, I'm going to give you an example, is as I got briefed on the Rails grant this year, or the Rails grants and the dollars that are going out. I'd like to see us require that each of the award winners in Rails grants take a 1,000 Strong kid in doing that and make that part of the application process. I think there's a lot of things that we're doing, and that's why I'm also excited about the position going into the city manager's office as we get there, who can look at what we're doing on a broad array of things and say, where can our young people fit in? So I just want us to be cognizant of the opportunities as they come along, and say congratulations to the Urban League for the work they've done on this. And Erica, you as well.
Very good. Thank you, Jay. Councilman Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to first thank you for the program 1,000 Strong, and also for electing to work with the Sacramento Urban League on this program. As we know, more resources are needed in working with our urban communities as well as the youth. And so I wanted to just say thank you. And lastly, wanted to thank my colleague, Councilman Jennings, for sharing his wife with us at the Sacramento Urban League and allowing her to lead the Urban, or I shouldn't say allowing her, but working collectively as a family, conquering multiple tasks and showing leadership in the city. So thank you very much to the Urban League as well and your staff. Thank you.
Great team and partnership, which is also why Councilmember Jennings is not voting on this item. I liked it. The record is clear. Councilmember Carr.
Just a question on the location of the training.
The physical location of the training, given that 1,000 Strong is geographically
Yes,
First-
we are partnering with Los Rios College. They'll actually be on the campuses, Los Rios campuses. So you have, Costumnes River College.
Be where?
Sac City. So
Out of-
all the Los Rios, sorry.
But you said it was out of Los Rios, which means it'll be at the community college within Los Rios, but let's go over those again for the record.
On their campuses. So we made sure we hit all of the districts that the
It'll be
students
at
can
Consumnes?
easily.
Consumnes.
Consumnes is one of them as well. Mhm.
South area, absolutely. Okay, Councilman Guerra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to just take this opportunity to, he's watching today because he's interning here, but to thank Malik Ford, who is our 1,000 Strong intern, and he's been doing a lot of great work for District 6, and also from Councilmember Chenier's district in the Oak Park neighborhood. But thank you for all the great work, Malik. I know you're watching out there, and I appreciate everything you guys are doing for us.
Excellent. Really appreciate it. Really excited about year 2 and learning from year 1 and partnering with the Urban League. It gives me even more confidence that we're going to continue to grow and provide more young people from our neighborhoods real-life work experience as early as 16 and 17. That's certainly one of the answers to the challenges facing our communities, and the attention obviously been intensified over the last couple of weeks appropriately. Part of the answer. Thank you. All right, all in favor of items, can I get a motion on items 10 and 11? Moved and seconded. Okay, all in favor, please say aye. What? Opposed? I'm an aye, by the way. I didn't say aye. Okay. That passes 8-0. Very good.
And Mr. Mayor, can I confirm that motion was by Councilmember Carr and second by Councilmember Chenier?
Well,
And
probably.
Councilmember Jennings has voted aye on 1 through 9 and 11 and abstained from item 12.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Item 10. Item 10.
Thank you.
Let the record so reflect. Anything else to come before the council?
We do have one more item.
We have item 12. Of course we do.
But
Oh, I thought you did, but go right ahead.
well, I just want, on item 11, I wanted to thank the city manager and Laney we made an adjustment to our budget to help accommodate a program that has been very successful in our district, the Nightlife Turn Right program that started in 3 council districts, and we've had the benefit of it for, I think, 3 summers now, and it has really served our community well. And with this transfer, it's going to allow us to continue and have it again this year. So we just want to thank for the the ease of transitioning funds from one area to the next to make sure we can continue a program that has worked for our community. So thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, before we move on to more business, I noticed my 1,000 strong intern just showed up and said hello, so I wanted to give him a big thank you and a thank you for the mayor for starting this program, give him a new opportunity.
Thank you very much, young man. Really appreciate it. Hope you're sitting up here someday.
That's here.
How about tonight? Yeah.
That's right.
We could make a trade.
You're talking about on-the-job training. That would definitely
That's right.
That's on-the-job training.
And seats available.
That's right.
Exactly. Okay, we have item 12. Please, Mr. Devlin.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Joseph Devlin with your Office of Cannabis Policy Enforcement. I'd like to read one thing into the record. The recommendation is to pass an ordinance amending Chapter 8.132 of the Sacramento City Code relating to the cultivation of cannabis, not pass a motion. That was a typo. The item before you this afternoon, I believe, is a fairly straightforward one. If you remember, several months back, we passed an ordinance that applied a $500 fine for every cannabis plant over 6 for residential property. This ordinance would apply that that same fine to commercial property as well. This is entirely preemptive. After adopting the residential fine, we started thinking through the policy in different scenarios and realized that we had a potential loophole. This is an attempt to get ahead of a very creative industry. And it would again apply that $500 per plant fine to any and all properties. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Eric.
I'd like to move this item, and also thanks for working with some of the industrial partners out there to make sure that we're also doing enforcement in some of the warehouse properties and the commercial properties where this is kind of happening and causing some problems with some of the current existing businesses that are out there. So with that, I'd like to move the item, and thank you for that.
I have a question.
Sir.
No public testimony. So we had this similar discussion in the Budget and Fiscal Committee, but the very, I think, hopeful and positive aspect of this report, among many other positive, is that you've collected $12.8 million in penalties against 45 properties. Is
Assessed.
Levied.
Levied.
Okay, so when those, and what is the average time frame for collecting on these sorts of levies?
Looking for my attorney, for an attorney. I'd have to get back those specifics. Do you know, Steve, off the top of your head? There's a process. There's an appeal process. What we've found is that given the size of these fines now, generally everyone is pretty much appealing them to the extent that the Office of Cannabis Policy is now taking over those code appeal hearings, and we'll be running our own cannabis code appeal hearings twice a month.
Fair enough, and of course, due process is essential, but I would suggest that we ought to be thinking hard about, once the due process has been had, and if the cultivation is found to in fact be illegal, given that we now have a legal set of ordinances, that the collection of these resources be a high priority, because that's $12.8 million. And, we're going to have a budget this year that is $12.8 million. We're going to have a budget this year that is going to be lean, and yet a lot of rightful demand to invest in many of our communities. And I keep thinking about youth again, but there are many, many priorities.
Absolutely.
And so I don't want to just glance at a $12.8 million figure and not ask some questions about when some, most, or all of that might actually be received.
I'll get an update as to the annual amount of time, but we've begun having those hearings already. We have collected an amount of revenue, and I believe we actually have hearings now scheduled out through June. So they are They're voluminous. And just one note on the commercial properties, if you remember, we created a registry of people. Not everyone applied for their business operating permit and conditional use operating permit. We've since finished going through and physically inspecting all of those properties that registered but did not apply, and we did not find a single illegal cannabis cultivation facility. So a bit of good news on that.
Okay. I'd like to talk a little bit more about the hearing process and the timeline for collection, please, at some point. Okay. Has this been moved and
We have
seconded?
a motion, we need a second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain. Very good. All right, is there anything else to come before the council?
I do have board and commission appointments to announce.
Board and commission. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few board and commission appointments to the Active Transportation Commission. Annika Jesse to seat F, Becky Garrow to seat C, Flo Jane Coffer to seat E, and James Jim Haupt to seat G, Jennifer Berdelow to seat D, and Ron Brazel to seat H.
Good. Okay. Closed session at 2 o'clock.
Are we doing council comments now or later after the meeting tonight?
Let's do them now. Yes, of course. Go ahead, council comments. Councilman Carr.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to make some recommendations to go to the, to amend our legislative agenda to include 2 items. One, supporting a permanent statewide prosecutor for police lethal use of force. And the second, to support all amendments and to statutes and to laws, including to the Police Officers' Bill of Rights. Any law or ordinance or statute which limit transparency and shield law enforcement from prosecution. And I'd like to have that drafted and brought back to the council for discussion and consideration.
Very good. So you want it back, your ask is to bring those questions back to the full council?
Yes.
Okay.
As an amendment to our legislative agenda.
Understand. Okay, we'll make sure that those questions are agendized. Very good. Vice Mayor?
Thanks, Mayor. I just have an update for the council. Many of you know that we lost Ali Yousefi a few weeks ago. On the 14th of April in the afternoon, there will be a memorial at the Golden One Center in his honor. I know some of you may be going to Cap. I just changed my trip so I could go to the memorial. I'm leaving Sunday. So if any of you have to adjust your travel or want to, I know that Sunday morning flight is pretty open, and it's a direct from Sacramento to Dulles. So.
Okay. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Vice Mayor, for that announcement. I'm definitely going to try to go. I just wanted to announce that this Saturday, April 7th, we'll be having a public forum in River Park about the Two Rivers Bicycle Trail that's proposed to be built in the American River Parkway. It's likely to be a rather lively meeting, so if anybody has a concern about the bike trail, if you're a proponent or an opponent, we welcome your comments and hope to see you there. It's at 10 a.m. at Caleb Greenwood School in River Park Community.
Very good. Councilman Guerra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would like to welcome everyone and save the date for April 14th for the Colonial Heights Library Pancake Breakfast. This helps out the Friends of the Colonial Heights Library. Councilmember Chenier and I share that library between our neighborhoods on Stockton Boulevard and 21st Avenue. Come have some pancakes at 10 a.m. and support our local library.
Sounds like a great event. Councilman Jennings.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to give a special thanks to all the volunteers and neighbors for making egg hunt extravaganza a great time at Garcia Bend Park and at Mesa Grande Park this past weekend. It was an incredible event and a lot of memories that will last a lifetime. And I'm sure that can be said for all the different Easter egg hunts that took place throughout the city of Sacramento. Also want to congratulate the School of Engineering and Science. They have secured a spot in the World Championship of Robotics, and that's going to take place in Houston, Texas. It's going to be happening next week. We're going to wish them luck. They are in the World Championship. They are the final two, so good luck to them. The Sacramento Police Community Engagement Academy. The goal of the academy is to provide our community leaders with more intimate understanding of local law enforcement and the current gang issues and trends facing our community. It's a 7-week academy. It starts on April the 26th and goes through June the 7th. It takes place every Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m. And for more information, you can visit the website, thecityofsacramento.org/police. But once again, if you can spread the word about the Sacramento Police Community Engagement Academy, April 26th through June the 7th. And then Summer Night Lights is back for 2018. This is a program for youth and families in the Mack Road and Valley High neighborhoods that Councilmember Carr and I share. It's a violence reduction and community development program that targets youth during the summer. And the great thing about what's happening now is we are looking for youth squad leaders, and we're accepting applications for that position. So if you want to come out and have a great time and earn a little bit of money at the same time with our youth and our families, this would be an opportunity to do so. So for more information, you can contact the Mack Road Partnership, Dia Vang, and that's dia.vang@mackroadpartnerships.com, or contact my office. That concludes my announcements.
Very good. Councilmember Ashby.
So about the egg hunts, we had a good egg hunt in Natomas. I told you guys I was really excited to bring in the helicopter and drop eggs, and as it turns out, I wasn't the only one excited about that. We had an RSVP roster, and it was about 2,000. And in my experience in my district, if you double up what the number of people that RSVP, you get close. So we were prepared for 4,000 to 6,000, and yeah, no, we had 10,000 people show up in the North Natomas Regional Park, and we were I had 13,000 eggs. So we ran out of a lot of things, and it was phenomenal. And I want to thank everybody that helped. We probably wouldn't have gotten out of there alive without the 4 churches that volunteered to help: Real Life, Vineyard, the River, and the Crossing. SAC PD came in huge. They had a dunk tank out there and had officers in full uniform, which was probably the highlight. Everyone loved that so much. And Fire, of course, had a truck out there, Lion Realty, and then we had the Sugar High Band. And it was really great. It just was a lot bigger than we anticipated. So next year, you know, more eggs. And I want to thank the mayor for cheering me up all weekend with egg jokes.
There's a sunny side to that problem.
It's cracking me up. Okay, anyway, this went on all weekend with him. All weekend I had to deal with this. All weekend. He has endless, dozens and dozens of egg jokes.
You're good.
Yeah, but thank you. And so I'm just saying now, any of you that would like to volunteer to partner to help me next year, it'd be fantastic.
Great. It just speaks to love of community, really, and just love of holiday and celebration. Congratulations. I mean, hard, but
yeah. Thank you.
Councilman Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to follow up on Councilman Carr's comments about requests that information to be brought back to council, and my request is somewhat similar, but wanted to get our complete policy as it relates to manipulation of either audio, video equipment that's police worn during the act of either shooting or some type of violent or physical occurrence between pedestrians and police officers. And my issue is that we've authorized body equipment, we've authorized less lethal uses of force, and my concern is that when we have any type of manipulation as it relates to either the audio or the video equipment, then I think it becomes a credibility issue between the city and our community, and I'm concerned about that. I'd like to in the event that the ordinance or policy is not strong enough, I'd like to make some requested changes, but I'd like to see the policy come back to us first.
So if I may, thank you for raising that, Councilman Warren. You know, we've talked a lot over the last couple weeks. Next Tuesday, April 10th, we're going to have a council workshop where, in collaboration with the chief and the community, where we are going to ask a number of questions that the community's been asking, including the very question that you raised, and talk about the existing policies and how we move forward under the chief's leadership to consider potential changes to our policies. And that's teed up. That's one of the key questions teed up, if you will, for next Tuesday. Thank you, sir. Councilman Chenier.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of announcements. Thursday night is the Oak Park Neighborhood Association monthly meeting. That's at the Oak Park Community Campus at 6 o'clock on, or 5:30 rather. On Friday night, we'll be doing our first food truck event. That'll be at Bell Coolidge Park, and that will be at 5 p.m. And also at 5 p.m. will be the Oak Park Peace Walk. And I'm going to ask Ms. Jennings, do you know what church we're starting at this month? Jennings doesn't know, but we will get that information out via email. I think we might be back at Shiloh. So that's at 5 o'clock. And that's all I got. I want to wish everyone, those who celebrated an Orthodox Easter is on Sunday, and happy Easter.
Very good. Thank you, members. It's appropriate now to adjourn the afternoon meeting, and then we will reconvene for the late afternoon evening session at 5 o'clock. Closed session now.
We're going to call, yeah. So we do have a quorum, so we'll call the closed session to order.
We'll call the closed session to order. We'll start in 5 minutes, all right? Thank you.
To the 27th, deadline's 20.
Good afternoon. The Sacramento City Council will come to order. Would the clerk please call the roll to establish a quorum?
Councilmember Ashby. Councilmember Warren. Here. Councilmember Harris. Here. Vice Mayor Hanson. Councilmember Jennings. Here. Councilmember Guerra. Here. Councilmember Chenier. Here. And Mayor Steinberg.
Here.
And I expect Councilmember Carr momentarily.
We'll be here in just a moment. Okay. Very good. Welcome to the members of the public. What we are going to do here is first hear under public hearings. Excuse me, the Pledge of Allegiance first. Of course, that's what we're doing. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Led today by Councilmember Jennings.
Salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Again, good afternoon to everyone. We're going to begin this afternoon's meeting with public hearing item 1. Item 2 has been withdrawn. After we hear the item number 1, which we anticipate to be relatively short, we will move into public comment on matters not on the agenda. Prior to that part of the agenda, I will make a brief statement about the calendar over the next week. All right, so let us begin with file item 1. Please.
Good afternoon, public Mayor, distinguished council members, Madam Clerk. My name is Thomas Adams. I'm here on behalf of the Public Works Department to present to you the abandonment of a public alley located in Council District 2 that is bounded by Del Paso Boulevard, Beaumont Street, and Dorena Avenue. And the purpose for this abandonment was the request of the developers to build a grocery outlet grocery store. This grocery outlet grocery store is roughly a little greater than 15,000 square feet, sitting over 1+ acre of land that will be situated in the Del Paso area of the neighborhood. Staff recommends this abandonment, and that concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much. Let the record reflect for a moment that Councilmember Warren has recused himself from this item. All right, are there questions? Councilmember Ashby.
Yes, Mayor, I just wanted to make sure that you have covered the one that Councilmember Warren has recused himself, but I would like to both open and, are there comments? Are there
Are there
people signed
public
up to speak?
comments on file item? And there is not.
Then I would like to open and close the public comment and move the item.
Moved and seconded, no public testimony. Any other council questions? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain. That matter passes 8-0, again with Councilmember Warren abstaining. Very well. We now move to public comment on items not on the agenda. And of course, we are going to hear from everyone under our usual format of 2 minutes. I know there's some people that may be arriving late, but I just want to take a moment to address the calendar, if you will, around. I know many people are here tonight, appropriately, to continue the public comment around the death of Stephon Clark. People may be here for other items as well, which is also appropriate. Next Tuesday, April the 10th, I don't anticipate this changing, but it could, and if it does, we will provide plenty of advanced notification, best we can. But we anticipate April 10th, next Tuesday at 5:00 p.m. The council will meet in public workshop to address the questions of protocol, policy, and training that arise out of the death of Stephon Clark. 2 days after the release of the video, I believe it was 2 days, in this chamber, I held a press availability in which I asked on behalf of my colleagues 11 questions that relate to protocol, policy, and training. We are going to, with the leadership of the police chief, first give him the opportunity to explain the current policies, protocols, and then ask whatever questions need to be asked. And then address next steps. So that's next Tuesday at 5:00. Tonight, we want to hear more from the public on this issue, this very important issue, or any other issue. So let us begin.
Mr. Mayor, I have about 21 speaker slips for matters not on the agenda. The first is Michael Voy, Christopher Greeley, then Victor Brazelton. Mr. Voy?
Brazelton. Mr. Brazelton. Mr. Voy. Welcome again, sir.
Yeah, welcome. Let's see, I got a... Kind of an outgrowth because I was a little troubled by, I'll just slide it up as needed.
Go ahead.
I was a little troubled by really the Joseph Mann case. Stephon Clark's case is still under investigation. But I did a little research, and there's broad discretion at the district attorney's office level about what comes to trial and what doesn't. So I think it could be appropriate for the city council to weigh in on that. And as a suggestion for that, I've drafted and just cobbled together something here. It says, in cases involving the city of Sacramento peace officer conduct that results in death or serious bodily injury, and the peace officer's defense is based in part on his own fear or fear for his or her fear or fear for the public safety, the officer's subjective state of mind shall be considered a question of fact. Well, it's always a question of fact, but is it sufficient to warrant going to trial? I go on and say, where the investigation reveals controverting evidence, the case should go to trial. In other words, if there's controverting evidence regarding the subjective state of mind of the peace officer. It's a question of fact, and probably, if you know, it should go to trial because juries, that's what juries do, is determine questions of fact. Where there's no controverting evidence, and the only potential source of controverting evidence is a deceased or incapacitated victim, the peace officer's state of mind shall be a question of fact, and that should also go to trial. The reason why is I'm very concerned about these cases. Dead men don't testify. So all these cases where there are multiple gunshot wounds to these individuals, they can't testify and controvert the peace officer's state of mind.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boyd. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you want to make that
I
part
will
of the
give that-
record, we'll
yeah,
make
I'll
sure
give this
that
to
the
them.
member has it. Thank you,
It
sir.
needs a little cleanup.
Okay, well, whenever you want. Thank you.
Next speaker is Christopher Greeley, Victor Brazelton, and then Jean.
Hello, I'm here to give a suggestion to.
Just speak
for our
up
some-
just a
sorry,
little. I just
I'm
wanna
here
make
to
sure
give
that
a
I can hear
suggestion
you.
for
Okay.
our problem that we're having in our city. Last week you asked, isn't there a better way that we can handle the things that have been going on? Use of deadly force is only appropriate under conditions of extreme necessity when all when all lesser means have failed or cannot reasonably be employed. From what I'm seeing, these lesser means are not being employed at all. I feel like, so my suggestion is police officers not be allowed to walk around with lethal weapons on the regular. My suggestion is that police officers have the option for lethal force in the car somewhere else, but not when you're doing traffic stops, not when you're coming for anything that is non-violent. I feel like just taking I've seen the dozens of police officers that are here today, they all have pistols on their hip. I don't think anybody in this audience has a pistol on their hip. But this is just one of the many problems that we're facing. But I think that's it for now. That's the one I'm going to bring up now.
I want to thank you very much for coming tonight and making your suggestion. Thank you.
And next speaker is Victor Brazelton, then Jean, then Casey B. Barthel.
Good evening. Afternoon.
Good evening. No citizen in our city from a 911 call that talks about one broken window and that he was wearing a hoodie and the end result of him having a cell phone should result in death. No citizen with just that information should warrant a helicopter going out and being flown over a neighborhood, having 2 squad cars with no other information than a hoodie and one broken window. This council said that it wasn't racism that caused this, but that everybody has perceived prejudices. What happens when those perceived prejudices become organized and have the ability to dictate policy is what caused, and it's talked about when it is systemic racism that causes issues. The issue is that if you have a perceived idea of what it looks like when someone comes to talk to you that looks like me, I want to talk about the history of what happens when we come into this room. We came into this room before Joseph Mann. We came into this room before Jazion Clark. We came into this room before Stephon Clark. And we asked for you to take action. That action that we asked for you to take was to provide an oversight committee that was civilian-led, that had the ability to talk about what kind of changes needed to happen in policy. A civilian-led oversight committee that had the ability to be able to recommend disciplinary actions. The failure is that you walked out, not once, you walked out not twice, but you walked out 3 times on the community. That's what you did. And now we have Stephon Clark, and we're asking you again. The 10th is great. We know the policies are flawed. We know the organization is flawed. What we're asking for is civilian-led oversight so that we can make the changes that need to happen inside of our community so we don't have to keep coming before you
Brazelton, if you
and
could
asking
wrap
you
it up,
for the
please.
change.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
The next speaker is Jean, then KCB Barthel, Pastor Rick Cole, and then Eugene Carlisle. Is Jean here?
Morning, Mayor and Council. It's actually pronounced Gervais, not Jeeve. And second of all, I actually like to talk to you guys because for those who know me, know I have friends that's close to me, and Zoe was one of them. There's a difference between guns and cell phones. And the freaking police, what they did, they freaking had the brightest damn flashlight ever. They freaking knew it was a fucking cell phone, not no damn gun. So for them to kill my best friend like that, my freaking brother, that was not freaking cool. They have tasers for a reason. They have batons for a reason. Instead of freaking killing them, you could have just tased them or baton. And that's the thing though too. He did not deserve to die because I'm sure when we was all kids, we had to hop fences to get home. No matter what, we did what we had to do to get home. So all I'm saying is when you become a police officer, you protect and serve the community. You don't take an oath to abuse and brutalize. I know because I'm in the Army, and I take the same oath as you guys with a badge. So that means for once, for everyone that has a badge and handcuffs, do your actual job and don't be killing people like me. And in 2020, I'm gonna become mayor. And I'm gonna make that change because unlike some people, I am actually for the people. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Casey Barthel, then Pastor Rick Cole, then Eugene Carlisle. Casey?
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. First question to state with the Stephon Clark, being my past, I'm in the military. I should hope that our cops should be held to the same standards as I was in the military. When it came to actually holding a weapon to an individual, my soldiers downrange right now, we cannot shoot unless we're shot at, even if an individual is pointing a rifle at us. And that is when it comes on enemy soil, sir. Okay, I understand the job of a policeman is not easy, but if you do not hold account the individuals in the job that don't do it right, then the whole system will fail, sir. We want to have accountability. We want us as citizens to be accountable for our actions. At least we can expect our cops to have the same. But besides that, with the elections coming up, District 5, sir, knowing that the incident with Stephon Clark happening across the street, basically, Fawn Road, from District 8, what do you plan on doing for your individuals that live in your district to make them feel good, to make them feel like they should elect for you, they should elect you again as City Council, sir?
So I'll let Councilmember Shearer, generally in the public comment, we listen.
Don't talk?
No, you're fine.
Oh, no, I want him to talk. I pay his bills.
I think what I would suggest is that...
just call my office. I'm happy to sit down and talk with you.
Right.
Okay, I'm just saying, sir, I've never, no disrespect or anything like that. I've lived in Sacramento majority of my whole life. Raised in Burbank, lived in G Parkway. I have never seen you. I've never even heard about a city council election the whole time from any district, including you, sir, no disrespect. And District 1, 3, 5, and 7, that is up for election. I haven't heard anything commercials, anything, sir. So since I do pay your bill because I pay taxes, I would like to at least hear you say something for your district, sir.
I think the council member has offered to meet with you in any group of people that you want.
Roger that. I totally understand, sir.
I'm happy to sit down anytime.
Okay. And don't just talk to me. Honestly, sir, I'm just one man. If you can come down to South Sacramento, 21st and Florida would be a good place, African Fest, and actually speak to the people, sir, I guarantee you they really appreciate that.
Happy to do it.
Thank you for that, sir.
Thank you so much.
Y'all have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Pastor Rick Cole, then Eugene Carlisle, then Robert Copeland.
Pastor Cole, I need his number.
I wanted to take the opportunity just to share my concern too for our city. It's touched my heart deeply since this tragedy occurred, and share a story with you that has been resonating in my heart for quite some time. Troy and Kate Roper are a white couple with 3 biological children who then adopted 2 African-American boys at birth. They live in the Pacific Northwest. Kate is a former attorney. She posted an article on July 19th, 2016 in response to the conversation regarding Black Lives Matter. She explained this: "I wrote this piece for my white friends who were increasingly embracing all lives matter as a response to Black Lives Matter. I grew angrier and angrier. Then it struck me. My white friends simply did not understand what it is like to be black. It was unfathomable to them that a white person and a black person could live such profoundly different experiences. As a white woman who grew up in privilege, I understood their lack of knowledge. As a mom of white and black children, I was in the unique position to validate the black reality while understanding the white one. So I sat down to write, to plainly and clearly explain the difference to my white friends. I see now that black people live a nearly daily existence of slights, suspicion, and even danger. Most white people truly have no idea. My ultimate hope is that we can have an honest conversation about how to bring change. Until Black Lives Matter, all lives do not. As a white mother of 2 black children and 3 white children who all have a white father, I have something to say. Racism exists. It is real and tangible, and it is everywhere all the time. When I brought my boys home, they were the cutest, sweetest babies ever. Now my boys look like teenagers, black teenagers. They're 13. Let me ask you these questions.
Pastor, if you could try to wrap it up, please. Thank you.
Do store personnel follow your children when they're picking out their Gatorade flavors? They didn't follow my white kids. When your kids trick or treat dressed as a ninja and a clown, did they get asked who they're with and where they live door after door? My white kids didn't get asked. Do your kids get pulled out of the TSA line time and again for additional screening? My white kids didn't. Do your kids get treated one way when they're standing alone but treated differently when you walk up? I mean completely differently? My white kids didn't. Do shoe salespeople ask if your kids' feet are clean before sizing them for shoes? No one asked them, my white kids. Do complete strangers ask if they're from druggies? No one did this with my white kids. Did you tell your kids not to fight back because they'll be seen as aggressive if they stand up for themselves?
Please, if you
Have you
could
ever had
wrap
to
it up,
consider whether
sir.
you should take your children to the police station to introduce them to the officers so they would know your children are legitimate members of your community? Have you had to talk to your children about what exactly to say and not to say to an officer? Have you had to tell your children that the objective at any encounter with police or security is to stay alive? It never occurred to me to have this conversation with my white children. The world sees them differently. The reason the phrase all lives matter is offensive to black people is because it isn't true. Right now in America, my black children are treated differently than my white children. I hope to share this just so it would help us to have a true conversation that identifies the reality of what exists in our community and see if we can't find a way to come together and heal the hurt that we have in our hearts.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor.
Eugene Carlisle, then Robert Copeland, then Alex Clark.
Can we make sure we get a mic for the speaker here? Thank you,
All
sir.
right, I'm Eugene Carlisle. I've been around quite a while. I know you, Mayor. I remember when you used to go to the restaurants and talk to people in 2005, 2006. I met you there. I was this close to you, but you didn't know me. But I seen your concern. Your concern was about people. I remember that. And I knew you was going to be mayor, the way you conducted yourself. But all people don't know that. Everybody don't know what I know. But I knew George Miller when his hair was black. Congressman George Miller, now his hair is white. So I've been out here a long time, but people don't know that. So the only thing I'm saying to you, asking you, I would like to make a difference. You know, I would like to see if I could do something to make a difference because I've been around a long time. I've been around before these youngsters was born. I had three sons that got murdered in the streets. You know, I've seen all these things happen. But the only thing I'm asking you or anyone in this committee, is there anything I can do to make a difference?
No doubt.
Yeah, huh?
No doubt there is.
Okay, if someone, I could talk to someone,
Okay.
when we get finished, and they can use my experience. Because I seen things happen when they were selling drugs, I seen it escalate before they started killing each other.
And my chief of staff, Kelly Rivas, right back there. We'd be happy to
Okay, well, I'm just letting
get
you
you
know.
involved, Mr.
I
Carlisle.
seen this escalate before it got started. When they were selling drugs, before they started killing each other. I saw all this here. So if I can make a difference, I'll go back here, maybe I'll talk to someone.
Thank you. Right there, right behind you.
Okay.
Kelly Rivas, right there. Thank you for coming tonight, sir.
Our next speaker is Robert Copeland, then Alex Clark, and then LB Patik.
Copeland?
One, I don't think the city council should have stopped the meeting last week. I think most of you are a bunch of cowards, except for Rick Jings, who dare to stay and talk to the rest of us that stayed in here. And all the people that turned in speaker slips last week and never got a chance, when are we going to speak on that? Well, Mayor Steinberg, I don't hear answers from you or the city council on anything. City council is a freaking joke. I mean, Stephon Clark should not have been killed by a police, which led to Wanda Cleveland getting hit by a sheriff's vehicle last Saturday evening. The police set all this in motion by their careless act of shooting Stephon Clark when he didn't need to be shot. Have you ever heard of non-lethal force? Why is that lethal force always the default position on the police department? I don't want to go. Wait, what's going to happen when there's another Stephon Clark getting shot by the police? You better do something. Reform the police department so they can use their brains instead of their firearms. I'd rather talk about rent control. I'd rather talk about rent control and sign petitions get people to sign petitions for rent control. And now I'm here because the sheriff's department, police department, and the sheriffs acted stupidly. Are any charge going to be filed on anybody in law enforcement on this matter? I don't think so, because Anne Marie Schubert won't take the case up, either one. She won't do it. So I'm going to vote her out in next election.
Next speaker is Alex Clark, then LB, and then Danny Schiebel.
Mr.
Alex
Clark,
Clark
Alex
here.
Clark. Alex
Alex
Clark.
Clark.
Okay,
LB.
next. LB.
LB's not here. Danny Schiebel. Danny Scheibel.
We'll get back to people who, if they're not here right now, we'll call them again.
After
okay?
Mr. Scheibel is Peter Frederick, and then Rob Bin Ware.
Robin Ware.
Hi, everyone. I have a question for everyone here, and it's not a rhetorical question. Do we love Stephon Clark? Yes. I love Stephon Clark. Yes. I encourage everyone here to say they love Stephon Clark. We must love Stephon Clark. If anything is ever going to change, we must love Stephon Clark. So I asked the United States of America, I asked Sacramento, I asked the city council, and I asked Mayor Steinberg, do you love Stephon Clark? Do you love Stephon Clark? You're welcome to answer to the public at any point in time.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Peter Frederick, then Robin Ware, and then Mary Tapple. Peter Frederick.
On March 18, Sacramento City Police gunned down Stephon Clark, an unarmed man who was standing in his backyard. Police shot Stephon in the back multiple times. On March 24, Sacramento Mayor Darrell Steinberg joined a March for Our Lives at the state capitol. He asked, "Why isn't it time to consider a national movement to change the Second Amendment?" After the police gunned down Stephon, the mayor's response was to demand elimination of the rights of private citizens to own guns. Which is a greater threat? The freedoms of the people or the powers of the police? The March for Our Lives movement is inspired by the Parkland shooting on February 18. Police knew about the shooter. They received dozens of calls about him over the years, including at least 3 calls over 3 years warning that he might engage in a school shooting. 4 officers on scene at the Parkland shooting did nothing to confront the shooter. 3 officers arrived and cowered behind their cars while the school resources officer hid. But when Stephon was wanted for alleged vandalism, police showed no hesitation to confront him and pull the trigger. Should we be more worried about police with guns than about citizens with guns? From 2015 to 2017, police killed 550 unarmed people. From 2015 to 2017, mass shooters killed 165 innocent people. No one wants to see citizens gunned down in the streets. But should we consider that police kill unarmed citizens at a far higher rate than lone wolf shooters? What's the solution? I cannot change other people. I can only change myself. The same principle applies to all of you and everyone in the world. But other than persistent attempts at persuasion, the only way to make my neighbor give up his guns is by force, that is by violence, that is by holding a gun to his head. Gandhi is often misquoted as saying, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." Will you spend your time demanding that other people change? Or will you seek to be the change you wish to see in the world? The Second Amendment prevents the city from preventing citizens from owning guns. So why not start with what you can control? Why not disarm the police?
If you could please wrap it up, sir.
Will you lead by example? Will you lead by example? Will you lead by example to give us a society free from guns? Thank you, sir.
The next speaker is Robin Ware, then Mary Tapple, and Nikisha Barthel. Is Robin?
Yeah,
Robin
Robin's
Ware?
here. I see him.
After Robin is Mary Tapple, and then Nikisha Barthel.
How are you doing, brother? I'm on another tack, I guess. I want to commend Darrell Steinberg and Captain Hahn, actually, too,
Chief,
for being in the glaring spotlight of this brief moment and how they've handled and conducted themselves. It could have gotten out of control, but it didn't. And I want to thank all of you. I'm an old man.
Excuse me, let Mr. Ware speak. Please give him the opportunity.
Okay.
Excuse me, everybody has the right to be heard here. That's...
Thank you.
Ware, please continue.
I wanted to, please, one of the reasons I want to commend Darrell and them is he paid for this book and the city council in 1997, Police Abuse and Brutality. I was president of the NAACP. I'm also very associated with the Jewish Community Action Network, the Japanese American Citizen League. I've been around. I used to be chair of the Sacramento Black Caucus. This is the book, talks about the civilian review. Darrell was on the city council, and Head Pargo was at the head of the mayor at the time. And I asked 2 minorities who were on the city council to help pay for the community center to hear the problem in Sacramento, which was the NAACP at that time were getting 100 complaints by the citizens of police abuse and brutality. The NAACP at the time had tried for 40 years. I got in there, and I came to the city council, and they said yes. And I showed them this all up in here. So, I mean, hey, I don't know what the civilian review is, but my opinion is of the civilian review that they have here. They call it Office of Police Accountability. How do you have the fox
Robin?
watching the hen house?
Yes, sir.
So anyway, I'm going to
wrap
wrap it up. I want to commend Daniel Hahn too, and I wanted to, and you got to remember, and I'm going to go, Darrell has said implicit and structural racism exists that pervades all American life. So we need to look at what they're saying. I'm discombobulated. I'm just trying to be honest.
Thank you.
And sincere.
Thank you, Robin.
I want to commend Tanya Fraser too and the community.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mary Tapple, Nakisha Barthel, and then Mac Elworthy.
Hello, Mayor Steinberg,
Ms.
members
Tapple,
of the
how are
City
you?
Council. I have to get this centered. I forget every time how you do this. Turn it over? Oh, okay. As I said, I forget every time. Thanks for the hint. Okay, first, I want to say my heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of Stephon Clark and the others obviously hurting in our community. And I have to echo some of Pastor Cole's comments about how differently African-American youth are treated than white youth. In the Sacramento area, I've been working with a lot of African-American youth as well as other youth. And I must say, when I'm only around with African-American youth and I don't happen to be directly with them, I've watched them being treated very differently by, white clerks, white this, white that. And then when I try to go and correct those people or whatever, I have often been confronted by stares that they don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, thanks so much for the council members to all of our progress so far, and thanks for Police Chief Hahn's progress. And I just wanted to say this picture is what our Sacramento police were doing on the very day and time of the Ferguson event back in August 9th, 2014. In the North Sacramento area, we were giving out bikes, a whole lot of bikes, 57 of them, to young people who had helped clean up the North Sacramento bike trail. And I also wanted to mention the very large Cesar Chavez March, which unfortunately did not get much news coverage. It happened Saturday. It looked like 1,000 to 2,000 people to me, over 50 organizations. And in that spirit, si se puede, everyone, and se puede verity. I think we can have more economic justice and social justice here and environmental justice. And that's why I'm saying se puede verity. And lastly, the Creek Week Beaver Walk. The Creek Week events are on, and this is the Beaver Walk, the evening of April 11th. And the splash off for Creek Week is this Friday.
Thank you, Mary. Hey,
thank you very much.
please, let's let everybody be heard, please. Thank you very much, Mary. Thank you.
And next speaker is Nakisha Barthel, then Mac Elworthy, then John Holden, and then Nikki Jones.
Hello.
Hello.
Just as nonviolence exposed the ugliness of racial injustice, so must the infection of sickness, of poverty, be exposed and healed, not only in symptoms, but also its basic causes. That was delivered by Martin Luther King over 50 years ago, and we still face the same dilemmas in our community, poverty and racism, injustice. I'm here today as a business owner in District 5 on Florin Road. I own a storefront, and I do not have the resources to employ young youth or young adults in my community. I look around Sacramento, I see Natomas growing, I see Pocket area growing, I see Arden, I see everywhere growing except for South Sacramento. We don't have, we have Food Max being built on Mack Road in Franklin. We have another Food Max on Franklin and Florin. We have another Food Max on Mack Road and Valley High. We have no resources to employ our own in our community. And the racism is very real, where our youth are not able to get jobs as well as our young adults. And I'm here to find out what type of resources is available to myself as a storefront owner to employ my community. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mac Worthy, then John Holden and Nikki Jones.
Dale, I had asked you to go out to lunch. You said you need somebody to talk to you. This is your problem by not demanding law and order. What happened here last Tuesday night was a disgrace. Disgrace. That should have been at the church. Yes. It's going to be law and order over my dead body, over all y'all's dead body. America going to have law and order. The situation here, this man here could have told them when they come in here about a charter, about oversight. You cannot have no subpoena, charter, oversight, or no police department in the city unless you take it back to the ballot. It's in your charter. Educate these people here, is what's going on. Educate them. You got a lot of people out here to be seen. You got the church with all the Sunday morning pimps coming here. Where are the other Tuesday nights that I come here 3 nights out of the month? This is their problem. Non-profit organizations, it's your problem, Mayor. Anybody coming here and representing a non-profit organization should have a year-end statement in how they make their money in your office. You got people pimping the system here. How many people at the church employ? Nobody. This is your problem. You got to step up and say, look, you got to get in line and we're going to do it right. How many black young men, black folks hire? 40 years for the same garbage in the street. You do not change no law or justice through this garbage in the street. You get people killed. That's why you don't see me out there. If I'm out there, I'm walking with my own sign by myself. The attorney general come over here, that's only lagging because of politics and what go on. You should be sitting down in this city, letting people know what's going to be coming soon with Orange County and San Diego.
Please wrap it up, Mr. Worthy.
These are the things. You got to demand things here. You got a boy come in here and tell a chief that he caused his brother to be killed. Somebody better get that boy's leg because he could die with his shoes on.
John Holden, Nikki Jones, then Trina Allen.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, the reason I'm here is problems that happened on Tuesday night, and not in this forum, but at the arena. I called out directly to your office. I emailed you. I spoke to your staff twice. I didn't get the courtesy of a phone call. The chief's office reached out to me, and we had a lengthy conversation about some of the things as a former law enforcement officer that I'd like to see in some change in policy. And public safety is my concerns. The King's organization reached out to me. Mr. Mayor, why wouldn't you return my phone call?
I would if I got your message. You said you talked to Mr.
Two calls to your staff, they're documented, and an email directly to you. So, Mr. Mayor, can I have 10 minutes of your time, not tonight, but privately?
Happy to.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to bring up, because I have a minute left, a situation that happened 1 week before the disaster with Mr. Clark in my neighborhood of Woodlake. A group of 3 people were on a chase from the sheriff's department, and they came off the 80, 160 on Royal Oaks into my neighborhood with guns. The area was locked down. 3 helicopters right over my house. I never see helicopters over my house. I knew there was a problem. Right next to Judge Kim Mueller's house, an individual, the car stopped, 2 people with guns were stopped, arrested. The other guy ran behind the house next to Kim Mueller's house. They sent the dog in, not a shot was fired on either side, and the end of the problem. Why isn't that policy?
I'm happy to call you.
Okay?
Okay? Make sure it is number, please.
Next speaker is Nikki Jones, then Trina Allen, and then Matt Upton.
Your calls. I cannot believe that either. I just can't believe it.
to thank and honor the Black and brown youth in this community, Black Lives Matter, other organizations and faith leaders for turning sadness and anger into beauty and power. Your discontent is righteous and justified. We will not hold patience for lies, for excuses, or inaction. We will hold no patience for police department PR or the demonization of protests by this council, by law enforcement, the DA, or by any local media. We see right through this, and as the eyes of the world are tragically on Sacramento, they see right through it as well. As Daniel Hahn attempts to avert blame from the department, speaking to NPR, he strangely asserts Sac PD never mentioned a gun to the press, and he irrelevantly wonders where the rumor was started. I might say it was his officer yelling, "Gun, gun, gun," before taking any account of the situation and taking the life of a young father, son, and community member, and that causing great harm started the rumor. An unaccountable system rooted in white supremacy and patriarchy are to blame for the killing of Stephon Clark. Included in that system are this council, the city manager's office, the police department, the sheriff's department, and the jail. Did I say the district attorney's office? Let me say the district attorney's office again. The district attorney's office. Also to blame is the long ago recognized please wait of the white moderate. If we do not recognize and address the inherent racism and violence of policing in the city and country, we will fail to bear the fruit of liberation so desperately deserved by the people most affected by this violence. Black and indigenous people, brown people, poor people of all races, if your officers are fearful in our backyards, too fearful to engage in any way but gunfire, then they should stay out.
Could you wrap?
They do not. Yeah, I will. I'll finish.
Wrap it up.
They do not see through a lens that allows them to be peacemakers or safety keepers in our communities. They see and treat these communities as potential threats, criminals, especially if they are questioned in any way. And of course, unless they're at a PR event about the values and tactics of the force where they lie about the tactics of other officers.
Nikki, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up one more time,
Absolutely. You
please.
do well
Now.
to consider Martin Luther King Jr.'s words, riots are the language of unheard masses.
Next speaker.
Next
speaker.
Speaker is Trina Allen.
Trina Allen, please. Please, Trina Allen.
Speaker is Trina Allen, Matt Upton, then Dan Underholt.
Several years ago, I thought my neighbor was beating on his young daughter. She was screaming and he was yelling.
Start again if you could, please, Ms. Allen. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Several years ago, I thought my neighbor was beating on his young daughter. She was screaming and he was yelling, and I had been that child, so I didn't want to be a person that just sat by. I called the police. They checked, all was fine. I was wrong. But then Michael Brown. But then Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland, he could have been Eric Garner, she could have been Ayanna Jones. I learned to second guess myself, Mayor. Moreover, I learned to believe black people. White folks in this audience, white folks at home, we need to stop calling law enforcement, period. I've watched those of you on this diocese for a long time now. Your disappointment with activists, your unwillingness to say the word murderer, your shaping of the narrative to be centered on decorum while your people die in the streets, your refusal to acknowledge anti-blackness in this chamber, your refusal to acknowledge terror. The people's rage is not new. We came to you with the illegal detention, the traumatization, and the killing of Dejan Flano. Instead of censure, you gave those officers awards for valor. We came to you with the hunting and the slaughter of Joseph Mann. Your officers walked away, some with retirement. We came to you with the brutalization of Nandi Kane, but Figueroa is still on your force. Howard Chan. Your officers murdered Stephon in cold blood. Your officers let him bleed out. 22 people have been killed by Sacramento area law enforcement in the last 3 years, many of them unarmed, most definitely disproportionately black. Nothing. You gave nothing but rhetoric and smokescreens. What good is video when we just watch the lynchings in the palms of our hands and nothing happens? The winds have changed. Stefan lit a match with that cell phone in his hand. He shouldn't have had to, but your disbelief, your inaction sent him to the winds, and now he will fan the flames of justice. I hope you second guess many things, sir.
Please wrap it up.
Your focus on violent development, your insidious investment in white wealth, the rabid funding of your militarized law enforcement, and the criminalization and the repression of all those who have not prospered from your doom. From your doom.
Thank you for your time. That's it. Thank you. Next speaker.
Our next
Next
speaker
speaker. Next speaker.
Our next speaker is Matt Upton, Dan Adderholt.
Show it. Get it.
Matt Upton, is Matt Upton here? After Mr. Upton is Dan Adderholt and then Russell Rawlings.
Culture that we live in is a puzzle. It's a group of a great many different kinds of people from different cultures, different places, different ideals. This great experiment that we have, this called democracy, happens because we listen to each other. To listen, we must willingly set aside something that is so difficult to do. And that's first of all to set aside my ego. To set aside my ego of my rights and my supposed rights. To be able to secondarily set aside what I refer to as the intoxication of my own bar, my bitterness, my anger, and my resentment. It works as a nullifier of hearing what other persons are saying. And until our culture learns how to stand for us, we will continue to fragment apart. We will continue to sever and go in our separate directions. It will only happen as we learn to listen. We have a deficiency of listen in our community. Instead, what we do is we segregate into our different communities and demand our rights. I would like to encourage us to genuinely learn how to listen to one another. Again, to be able to do that, we must set aside our ego. We must set aside our personal and public history. There is nothing we can do to change what has happened. But we can boldly go where this community has not gone yet before. And that is to bridge the gap between this and what's behind me, the citizens and the community. We must boldly go in that direction, and it only happen as we listen. As we listen and become incredibly present from here to build bridges to each other and build a better tomorrow. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you so much for coming tonight, really. That was quite eloquent.
The next speaker is Dan Adderholt, then Russell Rawlings, then Brazy Liberty.
I'm here for a different matter, but I first would like to say this as a Christian. My heart goes out to the family of Stefan Clark. It's a true tragedy what happened to that kid. What I'm coming here for is we need really help with American River. I'm down here cleaning the American River with the homeless, at the homeless involved, and we've been working every day for the last 3 months, and we need some support from the county and the city. And I'm coming here as asking you basically for help, if you guys could please help us. I have a meeting tomorrow with my district, Jeff Harris tomorrow. Look forward to talking more about this. But this coming to be a real hazard. People don't realize just how bad American River is. It's really become a toxic waste, and we're down here cleaning every day. It's really bad, and it's our drinking water. It's our place where our kids swim. It's a place where our kids go do everything, fishing. Now imagine our grandchildren. Where would they have to go? The rivers totally being toxicized by the chemicals and everything, and trash stuff, and we're doing something about it. I need help to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Russell Rawlings, if we could help with the mic there, I'd appreciate it.
Then Brazy Liberty, and then
Thank you, Neil.
Good evening, Council. My name is Russell Rawlings. I'm a Sacramento resident and a resident of Oak Park. Like so many other community leaders, my heart has been just deeply hurt. I apologize. This is going to be really difficult because I've experienced a lot of pain just seeing the community hurt. Every day when I leave work, I see the community's pain. When streets are shut down, that's community pain expressed in the most manifest form possible. Right. Yes. What we need, though, is for all of you to be leaders. Yes. We need that from you right now. We need you to be in the Capitol, and we need you to be fighting for reform. Because we know that the reform, which admittedly many leaders have been asking for a very, very long time before others have died, that we need an oversight commission. But more importantly, we need the roadblocks to accountability that hang over the city from the Capitol and federal level to be removed. That's right. These are barriers to justice for Stefan. So if all of you are truly community members, you need to be in the Capitol and in DC currently, expressing the same pain that we're expressing to you. Because honestly, listening to us, you already know what is going on. Yes. Yes. You already know what the remedies are. But we need leadership more than anything right now. The eyes of the entire world are on us. That's right. We need to be the city that says Black Lives Matter in a bold and profound fashion.
Russell, very much.
our next speaker is Brazy Liberty, then Ciara Piku Grant, and then Lindsay Williams.
Liberty, welcome.
Black Power. Black Power. Say his name. Say his name. I just want to say I noticed that y'all put extra pigs on duty when y'all when your officers murder unarmed black men in the streets. I think it's disrespectful. I think you're disrespectful, Mr. Steinberg, and I think the only person that's cool up there is Rick Jennings. I just want to say, what do I want to say? I believe you perpetuate white supremacy. I believe you work for imperialism. You work for capitalism. You're not for the people. And I heard a few white people come up here and try to explain to them how black people are treated. They know exactly how black people are treated. This is by design. And our system was destroyed when your people came upon these shores and committed genocide upon the indigenous Aborigine people that were already here. And you can describe us as black, but we are the Aborigine indigenous peoples of the earth. Our natural rights will be restored. The people will prevail, and U.S. imperialism will fall, and along with its dogs. Fuck the pigs. Power to the people!
Next speaker is Ciara Piku Grant, and then Lindsay Williams. And after Lindsay is Mike Marnbaum.
All right. I sit up here with you today because
If you could move the mic down so we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. I stand up here with y'all today because right now I'm looking at Google and I searched up your name, Mayor. And it says here you have Jordana Steinberg and Ann Steinberg as your children. So what if police just came in your backyard and shot them both? And they didn't get the justice because of their skin color and their complexion. And come to find out, there was this accusation of them having a gun in their hand, but come to find out, it's just a cell phone.
And they not here to tell your story. And I see all y'all, some of the majority of y'all sitting here looking at us like we're angry. Our pain, we're angry too. Our people are dying. We are under system of systematic oppression for years after years. And people come up here and speak and y'all don't care. We know we don't care, but we're gonna keep speaking until we get our justice for Stephon Clark and all the people who our police department has killed. Because as I'm gonna keep saying my age, because as being 14, living from a floor in high school, walking down in the hood, living from a predominantly white neighborhood to a predominantly black different environment, I have seen the differences. I've seen how mainstream media shows to direct their attention to suburban communities, but not urban communities, because black people and minorities are not valued in this society. We are done. I might not personally know Stephon Clark, but I know the feeling. I know the feeling of having your own people gone. It's not funny. It's not amusing as some people, as you're still in here laughing at all of the faces, some of you leaving the room while we try to address our pain. Thank you. Yes. That's not okay. Because if your daughter died, how you will feel disrespected. That is not okay. We live under a system of injustice. We have had Martin Luther King has been dead for over 50 years, and we're still fighting the same battle as our ancestors.
Thank you.
I'm not done talking, so I'm going to keep talking.
You have no.
Because you refuse to listen to us.
To try to wrap it up, please,
okay? Security takes me out. I will gladly stand here. Because none of y'all care. I was at that protest that Sac PD ran over Wanda Cleveland. I saw that. I warned them when the 2 cop cars were coming down the street. I was protesting over there as you had a helicopter, 20 cops with wire gear saying that we were having a unlawful protest when we were just speaking our mind. Verbal representation automatically intimidates the cops. Wow. Really?
You are welcome in this chambers, but
we're not welcome.
You are welcome.
We have never been welcome. Since your people took my people from my land, we have never been welcome. The superiors and the oppressors don't give a fuck about black people.
Next speaker is Lindsey Williams, then Mike Barnbaum, Sam Herring, then Daniel Jefferson. Is Lindsey? Thank you.
Hey, I'm a vet. And so you guys already know why we're here. I don't need to say, everyone can say Stephon Clark. And I look in all your eyes, and I've been watching you for these last 2 weeks, and I just see like a lack of humanity just sitting up there, and it's awful. Like, it's just awful. And so my only thing that I really want to say to you guys is that as a veteran, I have been trained to see what's about to happen. And all of you should have at least studied history enough to know what happens next. You have people in here complaining about the cost of housing, people in here talking about the quality of their river, their quality of life, about people getting killed in the streets. Every point in history has shown you what happens next. And you all, including your officers, have showed us and expressed fully how terrified you are of us. And just know that you're not ready. And all we're asking for is a little bit of justice. And I'm tired of looking into hollow eyes, seeing it on TV, watching you. Like you know these people, and you know darn well that Stephon Clark could still be here if you had listened when these people have been in here these previous years. And so I'm not even asking for justice. I'm telling you, you better give us justice, because you're damn sure not ready for what comes next.
Next speaker is Mike Barnbaum. Mike Barnbaum. Following Mr. Barnbaum is Sam Herring, then Daniel Jefferson.
Barnbaum.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Had several days to really think about what happened in our community on March 18th and what happened across the country on Valentine's Day. And my first part of this is, many of us just witnessed a court case that made news of a cop killer. What happened in our community on March 18th were cops killing civilians unfairly. If you know, in the case, in the case of the cop killer, that is you, Luis
Excuse me, we're going to let the
Bracamontes.
witness speak, please, without shout-outs. I'm sorry. Going to let Mr. Barnbaum speak, please, without shouting out. Thank you.
May I get some extra time, please?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So, as I was saying.
Go ahead, Mike.
Justice was served in the case of the cop killer. Yes, that is you, Luis Bracamontes. Then the same justice needs to be served to the cops that killed on March 18th. It has to work the same way. The second thing is, this needs to also be raised to a federal conversation on guns. We seriously need to revise the Second Amendment. We need to take guns away from civilians. That is you, Luis Bracamontes. And followed by that, we need to take the guns away from the men and women of law enforcement. The only people in the Second Amendment that should have guns, and I'll finish with this thought, are the men and women of military protecting our country. Nobody else should have possession of a firearm, including those who have already served their active duty.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Thank you. Next, please. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Work in the community. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sam Herring, then Daniel Jefferson, then Cecile Nunley. Sam Herring.
Hey. Right. So, everyone who's spoken before me for weeks and months and years about this has outlined the problem very, very clearly for you. I don't know what else I can say at this point that could drive this point home for you. I'm convinced that you all operate on willful ignorance. All these performative task forces and police commissions don't mean a thing until you can put your money where it matters, put the power where it will truly make a difference, which is in the hands of the community, in the hands of Black Lives Matter. We need true community oversight, and we need to disarm the police. All they do is to protect the property of people like you. You in your suits and pantsuits are so far removed from the community and so steeped in your privilege and lives of luxury, you can't see that Dejan Flanau's life mattered, that Adrian Ludd's life mattered, that Lorenzo Cruz's life mattered, that Joseph King's life mattered, Joseph Mann's life mattered, Mikkel McIntyre's life mattered, Stephon Clark's life matters. And that's not even the full list since 2015. You know, you sit up there on your platforms and visibly smirk and snicker at the pain in this room, in this community. And I'm honestly so glad that you can't help yourselves, because the whole world is watching you. I hope someday you're as embarrassed of yourselves as I am.
Here's Daniel Jefferson, then Cecile Nunley, then Rashid Sadiq.
Welcome, Mr. Jefferson.
All right, the first thing I want to say is that y'all ain't get no thanks from me because y'all ain't did shit yet. Since 2015, 22 people have been killed by the police officers in this area, and no charges have been brought against anybody yet, so y'all haven't done anything. Also, I would like to say that the DA, Anne Marie Chaubert, over the last like 10 days, done accepted like $13,000 from like police unions and stuff like that. Y'all really think that she gonna be able to unbiasedly prosecute the police officers that she been working with? I don't know who got the power, either it's you or you know somebody above your pay grade, but y'all need to go find a special prosecutor because she don't need to be prosecuting the goddamn police officers. Then, on top of that, you want to show up during Black History Month to the Crockett Museum with your National Peace Day speech, the wrong damn speech, and we can tell you don't care about us, man. Also, on top of that, hold on a second. But now, also on top of that, the police officers, every Martin Luther King Day, they want to march up and down the street with us like everything fair and in shit, but guess what? We on to y'all, and y'all got us fucked up.
Next speaker is Cecile Nunley, then Rashid Sadiq, then Fernando Nadal.
Black power. Black power.
Good evening, council members. My name is Cecile Nunley, and I am the co-chair of the Elections Pod for Black Women Organized for Political Action, or BWOPA. During elections, civic engagement is at its highest, and candidates are usually responsive to their respective communities. We accept that. BWOPA takes its responsibilities of being a leader in its community by investigating candidates within our area that will have an impact on people of color and how issues will be viewed and addressed. A telling component of how a candidate feels is, does he or she listen or engage with all levels and members of the community, no matter how small, not just at elections, but throughout the year. At this time, I would like to thank Councilmember Angelique Ashby. You responded to our questionnaire, and you also made yourself available for our interview. I would like to thank Councilmember Jay Chenier. You also responded to our questionnaire, and you made yourself available for our interview, and I really do thank you for that. I'd like to especially thank Councilmember Jennings, who not only responded to our questionnaire, you physically attended our interview, and we thank you for that. I know that some would say if you are running unopposed in your office, you do not have to waste your time in responding to anyone. However, that gives the appearance of not caring. I offered instead the view of County Supervisor Phil Cerna. And I want to also point out that those individuals, they responded to our questionnaire and they set up our interview times long before Stephon Clark happened. So they were willing to listen, and I do applaud you guys for that. However, County Supervisor Phil Silver, he wrote a letter to us, Cerna, I'm sorry. And I quote, "I am the only individual to register candidacy in the race for Sacramento County Supervisor District 1. While this is a welcome circumstance, I feel strongly that you deserve an opportunity to hear from me as the incumbent office holder. I feel that that is what a true leader does. I also wanted to mention Benia Lefkowitz, Mr. Scherner's wife. She also took the time to complete the questionnaire. She's running unopposed, and she also came out to meet with us. Those are values you can see in a leader who wants to work with everyone, whether they need them politically or not. Actions speak much louder than words. And in the race for the DA and the sheriff, Scott Jones and the DA Anne Marie Schubert,
Nunley, if you could wrap it up, please.
Never
Thank you.
heard from them at all, but we heard from their entire list of opponents for both races.
Thank you,
and I
ma'am.
just wanted to make that known.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Rashid Sadiq, then Fernando Nadal.
Well, the silence from our council members is deafening. You hear the pain in your community. It's a line getting drawn in the sand. I hope you guys are on the right side. The wave is here. The people are tired, and they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Today, you hear pain in our community because it's happened over and over again, 22 times, Mayor. We have to make a stand. I hear that all the council folks have backed the current DA. I hope that's a rumor. That's true. Whoa. So I represent the people who represent me. If I don't feel like you represent me, the people will choose. This is the day, feels like 68. This is where your life will begin or your life will end.
That's right.
Political life, Mayor.
Thank you.
Don't shoot, don't shoot. This is the time. This is the time. Rick, this is the time not to be on the fence. This is the time to choose a side. Choose a side. Alan, it's the time. It's the time. And so I appreciate some of the council people who have reached out, but it's time to speak out. And it's time to make a stand for right. Sometimes Jesus had to wash the feet of the people. Our feet are deep in mud right now. We're hurting. Sometimes the leader has to follow and follow his people. Follow your people. We're hurting. We're hurting. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Richard.
Our next speaker is Fernando Nadal, then Felicia Clark, then Jeffrey Tartagia.
Well, my name doesn't matter, but I'm here to let you know that the time has come. And the time is now. No more police shootings. No more police shootings of our fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, and babies. That's what y'all killing out here, okay? And I say no more. No more building of prisons over schools. I say no more to that. I say no more taking away funding from our mental and our medical health system. We cannot get help, but you keep taking. No more. I say no more to the acceptance of I fear for my life as our children lay dead on the ground. No more. That began with Mr. Zimmerman, and it has escalated ever since. No more of that, okay? I say that we, as citizens, need to arm ourselves with ourselves. mobilejustice.com. Your own dash cam. We have more phones than we have police. We need to put you on notice that you may be recorded and you'll never know. I say no more of the changing of the stories, no more of the changing of the lies, no more of the discrediting of the victims who you run over and are laying on the street. You know, no more. No more. How many bullets? How many bullets does it take to kill one child? How many times? Is it enough? I say no more. We hold you responsible. And guess what? November 18th is coming soon.
Thank you, sir. If you could wrap it up,
And we're going to exercise ourselves where it can hurt you, because you can't understand any other hurt. Our kids are dead, and you're over here bullshitting with us.
Next speaker is Felicia Clark, Jeffrey Tartagia, then George Rea. Felicia?
Can you check that pig right there, though?
Felicia?
Excuse me, you cannot shout out in the middle of the meeting or else I'm going to ask you to leave. Yes. Well, welcome, Ms. Clark. Ms. Fong, you're going to be next. You're going to leave if you disrupt the meeting one more time.
Oh, you're threatening me? Well, tell him. He's being very rude. Right. He's laughing at all. I feel threatened. He's been doing it since the moment we got here.
Ms. Clark. Ms. Clark.
My name's Felicia Clark. Clark is my married name, for the record. I'm not related to Stephon Clark, but police brutality in this city is very real to me. In 2014, my baby's dad, Paul Ray Westbrook, was shot in Del Paso Heights, and he was a white man. White man tatted back So if you in the community and you sleeping with us and you making babies with us, you can be stopped and cited. He got stopped at 1 o'clock in the morning for being in a known drug-infested neighborhood. That's where we live. We from Del Paso Heights. You guys should start looking to see why we call it the deepest part of hell. It's not called that for a reason, for no reason. You know, I've had my own problems with the police. And the problem is when the police get supposed to be rectified for the situation, that's not happening. You know, I am in a lawsuit right now with this city. I'm in federal court suing Sac County Police. I filed a citizen's complaint. Internal Affairs got involved, found the officer guilty. Yet here I am 5 years later in federal court still trying to seek justice. You know, it's on Facebook. I got 2 white male officers choking me while I'm sitting down handcuffed on a bench in jail being fully compliant. Yet they could tell the DA that I was non-compliant, that I assaulted them. In 2009, I was handcuffed and drowned in my own puddle of blood to the point of unconsciousness by the police, and my mom got that on video too. But it's when you go to the people and you say, what happened to the officer? We don't know. The officer knows what happened to me because he set the whole phony trial up. You know, he sat there while I was judged in front of 12 of my peers, but till this day, I ain't got him in front of 12 of our peers. It takes 5 to 7 years to get a jury trial in federal court, you know, and I'm going through that. So what I want to see from this county, this city, is we need to be knowing what the police are being in trouble. You know, were they suspended? Were they fired? Did their pension get hit? And when we go after this city for a lawsuit, it's not fair that I have to sue Sacramento County and I'm asking for $1.4 million. I should be able to sue that officer individual, but I can't.
You could wrap it up, please.
I would like to just wrap it up and say that in the United States of America, we're told that in the federal court system, we have the right to act as improper. Yet when you stand before this city and you say, I want to act as my own attorney because that is my constitutional right, you're denied that. I can't get certain evidence because it's with the police. So laws need to stop that. Citizens who act improper should be able to subpoena evidence and not have it come redacted.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeffrey Tartagia, George Rea, and then George Livingston.
Jeffrey, right here. Need a mic? Jeffrey, please. Okay.
Mayor, council members, I've been here before you. This time we're talking about unintentional consequences and Wanda Cleveland. I would be at another meeting, but it's important for you to know that one, you need to do police reform. One of the things that needs to happen is when you do a shooting, there is a paramedic there. Independently, you know what is going on. This last weekend, unfortunately, law enforcement closed ranks, and they did not in any way identify what was going on. 2, I live down there. I see what's going on around the arena. I applaud some of your efforts. At the same time, I will say to you is, like a decade ago, you did not do, and this is for the mayor, you did not deal with now, a decade later, mental health. You need to figure out how you address in the city, in the county, not for the drug part, but for what are mental health issues. Some of them you identified, but here we are a year later in trying to look at simply homeless. The other side I will offer to you is to say, hey, you've got enough people around here that you should be able to do some ad hoc efforts to figure out what are the 5 things that are possible right now to be directed and figured out so you do not have this become another Rodney King incident that happened in Los Angeles. Probably going to say it's going to be a year, but you need to figure out now, not a year from now.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
The next speaker is George Rea, then Richard Livingston, then Alex Clark.
Rea?
Mayor, members of the council. I was here last week, but unfortunately, because of a heckler, I forgot half of what I wanted to say. On March 24th, I coordinated the speakers at the March for Our Lives. And as I mentioned then, it was a rainbow of speakers. We had Asian, black, white. It was great. 6,000 people. Now, there's a few more non-African Americans here today compared to last week, but there sure to hell are not 6,000. If you are opposed to gun violence, you need to oppose all gun violence, not only when it is white high school students. The lack of those people being here tells me they believe black lives do not matter. Okay?
Thank you, George. Thank you, George. Sir. Next.
Our next speaker is Richard Livingston Jr., then Alex Clark, then LB.
My name is Richard Livingston Jr. I wasn't even going to speak, but I'm compelled and I feel the people. Look, Mayor, you got to listen. You got to listen to the people. You got to listen to the hearts. You can't take the compassion of the people and the pain and throw it into 2 minutes and be rude and tell them to stop. Unless, like they say, you know what that feels like. My son was murdered in the streets of Oakland, 20 years old. So I've been a public servant. I'm a social worker, so I've worked with children and families and older folks for the last 17 years in Solano County. I grew up in San Francisco in the North Beach projects. I raised my kids in Fairfield, where I'm a social worker, and now I work for Adult Protective Services. And I moved here to Sacramento about 3.5, 4 years ago. My brother-in-law, my wife's brother, and I'm sorry, y'all, I got passion, and I'm sorry, this hurts. It hurts. In his name, Lee Allen Whedon, he was shot in the back by Fairfield police 18 times. 18 times in the back as he ran away from the police. And I feel bad for Stefan, and I feel it. So I feel my son was murdered by another young black man, but on this side, my brother-in-law was killed by a police officer, shot in the back 18 times. And I'm a public servant. I have 7 children. I have a daughter who's 28, all the way down to 13-year-old twins. I have 6 boys. I'm a grandfather. My son who was killed has a son, and he's not here to raise him. And I don't know if I'm going to come home at night, and I'm a public servant, and I get pulled over. I've been discriminated against. I've been pulled over so many times in Fairfield and Suisun. I'm 46 years old, but I don't know if I look like I'm younger to the police when it's nighttime or what's going on, but I have dealt with it myself, and I'm a public servant. All I'm saying is we got to have some accountability. We are Sacramento. Sacramento is the capital. We need to set the example, and that starts with you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Get on your business.
Speaker is Alex Clark. Following Mr. Clark is LB, then Dante Paleo.
How everybody doing today? I just want to say this right now. I actually came out here from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and my family actually grew up in Long Beach, California. And I know I may not be from here, but I'm gonna tell you what's so crazy. And I don't need none of y'all interrupting me because I actually paid $1,200 to be here right now. You hear what I'm saying? I'm actually the cousin of Jamar Clark. My cousin was killed in November 2015. And that's by Minneapolis 4 police officers out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, where he was handcuffed. He was handcuffed. I'm talking about this as a man that was handcuffed. And my cousin was murdered, slaughtered in front of my family, in front of a bunch of kids, not only a bunch of kids, but also their parents. And I just sat there and watched police officers falsify a lot of shit. Excuse my language, even down in Ferguson. The story still don't change. Everything still remained the same. This is only the reoccurrence of what we have went through. The same thing that our ancestors had died and fought for on this soil. Y'all hear what I'm saying? And my thing is, what kills me is the people of color, the brothers that sit on this pulpit, whatever y'all call this, y'all should be damned. They sit among these serpents. You hear what I'm saying? Y'all should be damned to sit among these people. Because when your city and your state is going through what they going through, and y'all hear nothing but cries of people, mothers, fathers who have lost their children. Y'all have children. Y'all know better than the persecutor. Y'all executing your own people. Y'all should be getting y'all people better resources. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Y'all should be putting y'all money towards better shelters. Y'all should be teaching y'all people. Not letting your people walk out on the streets. And then for all of these fortunate ass white folks, peasants, Esau. Mashallah. You hear what I'm saying? Esau. Because that's what y'all are. For y'all to sit here and walk past the homeless people that sit outside your building. You know how pissed off I am about that? Hold on, wait a minute. I don't need you to say nothing. I'm gonna finish my point.
Please
and
finish.
it's for the family of Philando Castile.
Please finish.
For the family of Sandra Bland, for the family of Tamir Rice, Oscar Grant. Long live the Black Panther Party. Long live Fred Hampton. You hear me saying? Because the power is in these people. The power is in these people. I've seen it with my own two eyes. I know these people's capability. The only thing that intimidated, afraid of is the fucking nice sticks that y'all use.
Thank you, sir.
Just like
We've
y'all
got
beat Rodney King down.
25
Wait a
more
minute, sir.
speakers.
Respect
25
me, 'cause
more
I served for this
speakers.
country.
Please.
I served. No, wait a minute.
Okay.
I served for this country.
Okay.
I served in the Air Force. So please, sir, I'm going to retort. I'm going to tell you like this. First rule of the Constitution is freedom of speech. In no way, shape, or form should I ever be deprived of my right.
We're hearing you.
As a person of color,
We're
I am not 3%.
Hearing you.
I am not 3% human being. I am 100% human.
Yes, we are
We are
hearing
the
you.
architects of this road that you walk on. We are the architects of this building that you walk in.
Okay.
And you will respect me. We are kings over here.
Thank
Y'all
you.
hear what I'm saying?
Next.
Stand up and take your place. Family man up here.
Next
You
speaker,
feel it?
please.
I don't give a damn if you
Next
cry.
speaker, please. Next speaker. Call the next speaker.
Is LB.
LB, please.
Following
LB,
LB.
please.
Right now.
You're done, sir.
I don't give a damn.
Sir,
I'm gonna
you're
tell y'all
done.
like this. It's Queens over here. Men, y'all stand beside y'all women.
Done.
And women, y'all stand
Sir.
beside y'all men.
Sir.
Y'all live the Black Panther Party.
Sir.
What is y'all talking about?
Done. You are done. You are done.
Fuck out of here, peasant.
Please. Please leave. Thank you, Funk.
We leave when we want to.
Fuck social media too for reporting the lies. Motherfucker, reporting the truth.
Know our faces, each and every one of you. Know our faces. Listen.
Excuse me, sir.
Wait, my time needs to start back. My time needs to start back.
Start her time again. Please start Funk's time again.
It's recorded. I got it all. You know who I am. You know who I am. I was in here.
Funk, please.
No more. I don't want to hear they were in fear for their lives. You and I know the system is colluding with their lies. Inopportune timing, all caught on tape. The delay of justice, the delay to render medical help. 30 minutes, 20 bullets into the hearts that now must continue to live. Killed by a system of alibis, killed before they have died. Death penalty imposed on a generation of innocents. All part of a state-sanctioned torture. You lie, bald-faced liars. Anne-Marie Schubert, Darrell Steinberg, you colluded. Justice denied. Not one more phone. A life gone, no longer resting. Not another night. Not one more night shall you rest. Look at the people. Their stories will attest to expose the systemic genocide, the crimes you buried, Chief Han. You muted the truth. Who can you protect now that they all have died? The truth will float to the surface, bodies of evidence. You will answer to your crime. If not today, tomorrow, divine justice will always follow. You are masters of falsehood in this revelry of crooks. Your city shall lay in waste. Forgotten duties we shall no longer debate. You see, you are the enemy. We are not the enemy. No crimes were committed. Death by design in graves now they lay. The city will hear the cries of grieving grandmothers,
Your time
mothers,
is up. Thank you.
fathers, and families have wept for lives.
Ms. Lee, your time is up. Please wrap it up.
Can you not look into the eyes
Please wrap it up.
of grieving children bereft
Wrap it
of
up.
their father? Or do you condemn their cries, belittle this national uprising?
Your time is
A
up.
roar of revolution. The waves of injustice have come crashing to your door.
My next speaker
Do
is Dante
not
Pillay.
underestimate the power of grief. The warrior's cries. We have endured many
Who is next?
Next speaker is Dante Pillay. then
Dante
Hannah Williams.
Palaio, please. Dante Palaio, please. Thank you. Dante Palaio, please.
Hello, how are you guys doing today? I represent the poetry community here in Sacramento. My name is Dante Palaio, so I got a poem for you. You know, it's chant one, okay? Fire in our eyes, we stand real tall. We're not gonna let our children die in vain. We move insane when you step on our big toe, ow. Shoot our babies down, bow down to the crown. How many times I gotta hear a crying mama sound? Turn and master your life around. I got your back, we got our backs to this black attack. Bang, bang, mother sucker, we ain't having that. Bang, bang, mother sucker, we ain't having that. Bang, bang, mother sucker, we ain't having that. Daryl Steinberg, how are you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
You know, this is what it's doing to my poetry. You know, can we convict these killer cops, these racist cops? Get them out. They don't need to be here. We talk about white supremacy and everything. The system is ran by white supremacy. Are you a part of the problem? Yes. Then you need to go. Get out of office. Help us out, the people. You want to show up and stand up for Sacramento? Do something for Sacramento. Do something for the homeless. Build some tiny communities and everything like that. Build that library Stefante was talking about. Okay, let's make this happen. Change this community. Change these communities around. We need change now. You can do it.
Yes.
You can do it. Then make it happen.
And I will.
Justice for Zoe. Make it happen. Say his name. Stephon Clark. Say his name. Say his name. Say his name. We demand justice now.
Thank you, sir.
Speaker is Hannah Williams. Hannah Williams, then David DeLuz, then Sheikh Morales L.
Ms. Williams, is that you? Good. Take your time.
Yeah, so first off, I'm going to encourage you, Steinberg, to watch this evening again later, because it's being recorded, luckily. I mean, you'll see yourself every single time someone goes over who's a person of color, you say, wrap it up, out loud. That white man was up here, and no, don't do it. He was up here, and he was going over time, and you know what you did? You said, you didn't say it out, you didn't interrupt him. And you know what? Like, be ashamed of that and work hard, like, reflect on that, you know? So when people say that you don't think Black Lives Matter because you don't act like it, there's fact in that, and that's all y'all who've endorsed Schubert. She has never once investigated a killer cop. And you still give her your endorsement? There should be a standard. When we say you don't act like Black Lives Matter, that's it right there. These two cops are getting paid right now. You're paying them. We're paying them. they murder someone and they get a check? That's not right, and you know that, and that's why we say Black Lives Matter, because y'all ain't acting like it. And that's got to stop, and you can't open your mouths at all to, like, the one thing you'll say when you say about it is oh, I can't second guess the police's actions. Don't you, those were your own words. That was your Facebook status, and you know the hell of people didn't like that, funny enough. I have 33 seconds. So what you need to do is rescind your endorsements. As far as you're not doing that, you know, no one's going to trust y'all. She received $10,000 from the police union, from the state, and then $3,000 from Sac PD 48 hours after Sac PD murdered someone. That's funny. That's funny. It's interesting. Connect the dots. Come on, y'all. Damn.
Please wrap it up.
And I gotta please. Listen to yourself.
Thank you. Your time is up. Go ahead, next.
Next speaker is David DeLuz, then Sharik Morales L, then Sheikh Geronimo.
Mr. DeLuz, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is David DeLuz, and I'm not an artist, and I can't write a rhyme, but I am one of those people that have been in front of you for the last 25 years, coming to this very spot, speaking some of the same truths that a lot of folks have talked here tonight. And the fact that I've had to come for 25 years is problematic enough. But I think now we have some real articulate folks who are expressing serious pain. And it's not just about racism. Let's take race off the table. This is about justice. This is about justice that everyone is entitled to. Our communities deserve and want police that will serve and protect. I think that is a minimum standard. We're not asking for no police. We're not asking for Beverly Hills cop police. What we're asking for are police that will serve and protect the community, because police are simply the most intimate connection that we have with our city. And when we can't trust the most intimate connection that we have with our city, what does that say about our relationship with our city at all? We want to come out and we want to advertise that we're the most diverse city in America, but yet all this pain that we've expressed here is a manifestation not just of our relationship with police, but it's all the underlying relationships that go with it. The economic relationships, the institutional relationships, our housing situation, our educational situation. Some of these issues you can't solve, but you can definitely influence. And I just want to encourage you, there have been speakers here tonight that have mentioned that, yes, sir, I will wrap it up.
Thank you.
You have the ability to influence policy that is responsive to every person in this city. That's all these folks are asking for. But I've been here for 25 years, and I don't want to be here for another 25 more. So I just ask you, please work with these folks in the community to really come up with real solutions beyond just justice for Stephon Clark, but for every Sacramentan, because we are you and you are us. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Next speaker is Sheikh Morales L, and then Sheikh Geronimo, and then Vanessa Nino.
Evening.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to start off and say, give praise to Rick Jennings for his genuine concern for not only the city, but the community as well. I want to draw this right back into a human rights issue. This is absolutely a human rights issue. And I really don't expect any of you guys to answer this question, but I know each and every one of you took an oath to uphold the Constitution for the United States, even though it said of the United States. It's absolutely for the United States. And in those constitutional rights, the Article 1, Section 10 says that any debts shall be, only lawful debts of this country shall be gold and silver. With your performance bonds of your officers being backed by only fiat and not actual gold and silver, their bond does not match their oath. And therefore, they are subject to codes and ordinances that you guys enforce on us. Yes, the district attorney, she knows what I'm talking about. So it's a human rights issue. The codes and ordinances that are being placed on the people should also be placed on these officers, particularly United States Code Title 18, which is crime and punishments. Title 18 USC 242 has to do with deprivation of rights, constitutional rights under color of law, in which the ultimate crime for death of a citizen is death to the officer. And I encourage every member of the council to do their research on the Constitution, because I think you guys have taken an oath to something that you guys don't even know and study and understand. So if anybody wants to know, I have a plan to start educating the youth on the Constitution, how to stand for their rights so that they're not running from any officer. They don't have any need to fear these officers, and we can put them back into their place, which is serving the public, not the other way around. Thank you. If you want to talk to me, come see me.
Next speaker is Chief Geronimo, then Vanessa Nino. Mr. Geronimo?
Two minutes. I'm gonna keep this brief. When I came up here, I realized that, like my brother said, this is a human rights issue. A lot of us don't want to deal with it as that, because a lot of us are not sitting up here saying we're humans, but I'm saying to you there's a collusive effort by people in your administration. I notice a lot of people say Anne-Marie Schubert's name, who don't want to recognize the humanity that a lot of us put forth. A lot of us have put forth a lot of energy and effort to speak our truths, but I want you to understand something, that, you know, classifying and policing people wrongly is wrong. Not giving people the opportunity to identify themselves to yourselves and you respect that is wrong. There's a criminal element within this system that needs to be fished out. There are a bunch of real Sacramentoans in this building, real Sacramentoans, you know what I mean? Not this other stuff. But the reason I say that is because we can feel the difference. That's why when we see it, we speak to it like, this is weird. This ain't natural Sacramento. This is something else. So we got to get that element out of Sacramento. Secondly, we all know that when you go through booking, there's a thing called classification. People are booked in under wrongful classifications. You know what they are. If people are knowledgeable enough to go through this system, Mayor, you must give them their time and their respect to be free, because they work too hard for it. Otherwise, calamity will fall. I don't even need the rest of the time.
The next speaker is Vanessa Nino, Keith Hugantos, and then T. Whitney.
Los enseñaba que chamalea y nepo Vanessa Nino y nepo Yoeme que chicana y nepo ingeniera Baam que Black Lives Matter. I just spoke to this council in 3 languages, so I would hope that you would listen to this story. In 2012, I was pursuing my graduate degree in civil engineering, and I wanted to see indigenous engineering methodologies. And I worked hard as the first member of my family, as a Yaqui woman, to go to Peru to see the indigenous engineering methodologies of Peru. And I went to Nazca, and on the 3rd day of Nazca, I felt so amazing. And it was the best morning of my life. But that best morning turned into the worst nightmare, because I was in a psychotic state. I was manic. I was undiagnosed bipolar 1 with psychotic features. And in Peru, alone, the Peruvian police wouldn't lay a hand on me. It was my husband's family members that had to come and get me. And it was in the hospital where the nurses held me down and they drugged me up and they force-fed me and they washed me down with the hose and they beat me to submission. I thought I had gone through the most traumatic thing in my life. And then I come back to the United States where I became psychotic again. But this time, my husband, not knowing what to do, took me to the ER in Sutter, the worst place to go, because guess who was there? There was a police officer on the first floor, and I sang prayer songs. I sang, Achaita, Itomaye. And he looked at me and he said, shut up or I'll make you shut up. Wow. And I never told my husband that happened until last night, and my husband said, yes, I was in the other room, I remember, because everyone in the room laughed at you.
Christ, that's a damn shame.
Then, when I got set upstairs, 5 police officers held me down. As I said, run, Tarahumara, run. And I begged them, please don't tie me up.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Please don't hurt people of color. And you know what racism is? Prejudice plus power. So if you don't want to be called racist, give the power to black folk.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Keith Joganatis. I'm 24 years old. I've been a resident of Sacramento, California for 20 years old. Mayor Steinberg, Councilwoman Ashby, I've had the chance to interview both of you as a journalism major at Sac State. I first want to say all glory to God. The second thing I want to say is I had an opinion piece that was set in place to be on our newspaper's website last week about the shootings. I would talk about how as a 17-year-old coming home from prom, I was pulled over, kept out of my mom's car because the lights didn't work for 20 minutes. And as a Mexican-American with milk-colored skin, it was at that moment I realized, if that can happen to me, what happens to my friends down in Del Paso Heights? I tried my best to talk about Stefan these last couple of weeks. I marched with people such as Mr. Akis, and I got to meet some people in the city that I had not had the chance to meet. And I forgot about the word loyalty because I knew Stefan Clark. I met him at a house party when I was 16 years old. I didn't let anybody know because I was afraid of what people would think. But when you come from Sacramento, loyalty is what makes this city. I came to class at our student newspaper today and was told that I've been blacklisted from talking about anything related to my friend Stefan. Therefore, as a journalism major, I have decided to not return to my newspaper class until I am no longer blacklisted, and I will continue to march with these people because loyalty is what made me, loyalty is what made them, loyalty is what makes us. I am done with journalism until we start reporting the facts. I am done with journalism until I get justice for my friend Stefan, and I'm not gonna go back on that. Sacramento proud, one love, all glory to God. Stefan, love you, bro.
Speaker is T. Whitney, then Henry Ortiz, then Tim Boyd.
Hello. Is this how you, if I turn this on? Okay, I haven't done it before. District Anne Marie Schubert, District Attorney. All of you up there, you've all endorsed her. Nazi lovers. The County Board of Supervisors, all have endorsed her. Scott Jones, Peace Officers Association, Elk Grove Police Officers Association, district attorneys all over the place. There are your names. How is it that the very people that she is supposed to investigate, that she is supposed to She's supposed to make an independent decision. That's on her campaign signs all over town. Giant letters, independent. How is she independent? Sounds like she's beholden to the police department, the sheriff's department, to our sheriff, to each and every one of you. Eric, I'm from District 6. I'm not supposed to address you directly. I just have to say I'm very disappointed in my representative that he is endorsing Anne Marie Schubert. She is a mistake. She should not have been elected, just like Scott Jones shouldn't have been elected, just like several of you, probably most of you, shouldn't have been elected, just like Trump has not been elected. How many of he was a fucking mistake, and we all know it. And how do you like being in the same category as 45? I don't think many of you do, but you are, and you're endorsing her, and that holds you in that category permanently and forever until you take your names off that list.
Is Henry Ortiz, then Tim Boyd, then Dwayne Smith. Henry Ortiz, Tim Boyd, then Dwayne Smith.
Are they here? Any of those three here? Henry Ortiz here? Henry Ortiz?
Henry? Dwayne Smith. Okay, I guess you're after me.
Oh, you want to?
It's okay. Whatever you want to do is fine.
All right, I just want to give y'all the culture of inside of black culture, low income black culture. My mom used to tell me to hop the gate to get in the house. I don't know if anybody related. If you ain't got the key to your house, you have to hop the gate. My mom used to tell me this. Listen, and it's true, and we need to change what public safety really means. Because the public is not safe. If I'm not safe in my own granny's house, backyard, I seen the footage. You seen the footage, the helicopter footage? I seen the two officers. It looked like they was playing cops and robbers. They turn and they stop like this. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Is that policing? Then they shot. I'm sorry. I thought I was gonna be calmer than this, but I'm not, because I used to be that guy. I used to hop my granny's gate to get in the house. That doesn't mean if I hop the gate to get in, because it's a little late, to get shot by the police officers. Put humanity on our culture. You get what I'm saying? Put humanity on our culture. And it's probably things about your culture that I probably don't know too. And I mean, European culture. I know sometimes you keep keys underneath the rock. It's only one key in my house. It's only one key. When I was younger, I got 56 seconds. When I was younger, my mom used to tell me, I'm going to work, you better get in the window. And I used to have to climb in my own window. Neighbors saw me, but they knew who I was. If somebody drove down the street and saw me going into a window, they're gonna call the police and say he just broke into their house. Until you come inside and see my pictures, see my shoes, my clothes. Knock on the door first before you go in the backyard and shoot. We got a call. We got a call. Somebody's, no, you rush in, gun-ho. We gun-ho out here too. We turned up, no justice, no peace.
Our next speaker is Tim Boyd, then Anthony, then Sonia Lewis.
I'm not going to waste too much time because I only have 2 minutes, but what happened a couple of years ago when I was in Oak Park, I ran a group called Cops and Coffee, and you took all our pop officers away. Well, this was when Mayor Rudin was still in office, because you shut down one drug house. When there was one, there was 5 more. You left us very vulnerable. We had pop officers that knew us back then. This stuff wouldn't have happened to Mr. Martin had we had those police in those neighborhoods that knew us. You guys are playing with these people's lives. You're doing nothing for the homeless out here. You got people that are forced to shit and piss, and I'm going to say this, shit and piss, because you're not virgins to this kind of stuff, okay? They have to shit and piss in the river. These poor kids are soon going to be swimming in these rivers because you all even haven't opened these pools yet for these poor kids. So what are you doing? There's no public bathrooms out here. I just got off the train. I had to piss. I had to run for my life because I knew a cop would have probably jammed me up for some kind of indecent exposure. Where do you all piss at when you have to piss? I ask you that. Where do you pee at lunchtime? I can't find a stinking place out here. People should be subjected to that. And furthermore, T.J. Smith a few years ago was hogtied by the police. was smothered when you all had a protocol saying that you weren't going to turn people upside down in these police cars. He was dragged beyond the police station, and then we had all these meetings with Chief Brazil back then and Chief Summers, and they promised us all this yada yada that this wasn't going to take place anymore, and here we are again today, still without any true oversight, still without any true transparency. Transparency seems to be the missing key component here, and that's what these folks are asking for. Where is the transparency in this house? Who's accountable? I mean, who's running the IA now? Is it Chief Brazil, the person that was false and not true to us, and I hear that he's back in this house now? We've got wolves guarding the hen house. We don't need that. Am I not right? Maybe I'm mistaken about that.
At the county.
Okay, the county. But still, I mean, you guys work with the county too. You meet with the county. You had that big epic meeting when you first came into office, and you booted me out of there because you didn't even call my name to speak. You shuffled the cards around. You can't play with that. First come, first serve. This is not your house. This is the taxpayer's house. Please don't ever do that again. Please don't ever do that again. We're watching you. We're watching you. We're watching you. We're watching you. You're on the RT board. Your RT transit stinks. Your shelter stinks. My homegirl died in your shelter the other night. Your shelter stinks. You stand in front of those shelters like a media whore for sensationalism. We don't need that. We don't need that. Thank you.
Wrap it up.
Our next speaker is Anthony, then Sonia Lewis. Anthony, then Sonia Lewis, then Justice Lang and Jennifer Manuel.
Hello, I'm Anthony Robles with the Youth Justice Coalition from Los Angeles, California, and we fully support the people of Sacramento. We're here for Stephon Clark. The whole state is watching, the whole country is watching, and the world is watching, and everybody's following your lead. So keep shutting it down and keep putting pressure on them, because as the veteran said earlier, you're not ready. If we don't get nothing out of this, you're not ready for what comes next. California police, well, I should say, we're from Los Angeles, and LAPD is the most murderous police force in the country, and so we're used to this. California police kill the most people in the country. I heard somebody say earlier that, speaking about the Second Amendment, that guns should be taken away from domestic abusers first. Well, guess what? Cops have the highest rates of domestic violence, and you can look that up. So that brings me to something else. Out there in LA, we have the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department hearing about a family bill of rights that we worked with families of victims of police violence. And then some of those demands are state funding for family compensation, for victims' compensation for the families, a state-appointed independent special prosecutor instead of a DA who's in bed with the police. And another one is that the money, when the families sue, the money should be coming from the officers' pensions. And there's a couple of state bills that just introduced today. Assemblymember Weber introduced AB 931, use of force bill, and Skinner introduced SB 1421, a police transparency bill, so the public can have access to police personnel records of sustained misconduct when they kill somebody, seriously hurt somebody, when they sexually abuse somebody. So,
please, if you could wrap up, please. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that warning. I just want to say again, we're here for Stephon Clark, and we fully support Sacramento. Keep doing what you're doing. We're following you.
Our next speaker is Sonia Lewis, then Justice Lang and Jennifer Manuel.
Before I get started, I just respectfully ask you not to interrupt me. This is very emotional for me. I'm going to go a little bit backwards because I read a statement from the Sacramento Police Officers Association on their webpage. Their statement was, even as tragic as this event is, we cannot ignore the fact that this shooting was legally justified under the law, within police policy, and in accordance with training. So I want to start there because I wish that there was a representative from the Police Association here this evening. My uncle, Tommy Thompson, has lived in that house on 29th Street for almost 50 years. Let that sink in for a minute. So he's owned his house He's worked in the city, he's paid taxes, and his neighbor got a knock at the door, and he didn't. That's via the footage that we all saw. I got a call Sunday night, March 18th, from a friend who still lives in the neighborhood. Sonia, something's happening at your uncle's house. I called his daughter. His daughter said, I'm on my way. Called his wife. We just heard gunshots in the backyard. We don't know nothing that's going on. After the fact, Sac PD came in and basically interrogated a man who has 2 amputated legs, cannot care for himself, and his wife who is not in good health herself. And while they sat in that house, Sac PD didn't have the decency to let them know that someone was dead in the backyard. This is a taxpayer. This is someone, if the police took seriously their job of protecting and serving, you would know who lived in that house. You'd know the people on that block. And so it's sad to me when I have a mayor who every time we come here, you turn your back on this city, on these citizens, and all of the other councilmen follow in tune and walk out with you. It's sad. I wish that Chief Hahn were in here. I used to be the teacher, Criminal Justice Academy teacher over at Kennedy High School. Mr. Steinberg, you used to speak at our graduation every year. And one of the things that I stressed in teaching that academy was that we have to improve community policing and what that looks like. And if you don't do something about it now, I'm telling you, as a person who grew up at 3101 Meadowview Road, 7 houses down from my uncle's house on 29th Street, where I can go for refuge, where I can go if my mother was not home and his doorbell has not worked in an eternity. If I can go there and do that, you can do this for this city. And that's where your courage and your character is going to have to take place at this moment. Because we can no longer have cops that say that they fear for their lives when individuals are in their grandmother's backyards. Eric Gardner's daughter died because of post-traumatic stress syndrome and trying to get justice for her father. I could totally, God be with my uncle and aunt, but I can totally see something like that happening to them because of your reckless behavior at the city level, and the reckless behavior of our police department, and the reckless behavior historically of DA Ann Schubert, who refuses to charge cops who kill.
Next speaker is Justice Lang, then Jennifer Manuel, then Gloria Gonzalez.
Y'all need to pull back your endorsement from the DA. Stephen Clark was shot in the back while unarmed in his grandmother's backyard, and there's no excuse for that. There's not self-defense. Fear is not an excuse. The city, the DA, and the police need to step aside and empower the community instead of themselves. You should support a real community-led investigation with the power to indict killer cops. And that's what they are. They're murderers. You should change the police Bill of Rights so it won't allow officers to kill unarmed civilians with impunity. Simply because they're afraid, they get away with it. And what we really need is indictment and conviction. We need to hold the police accountable, take the investigation out of the hands of the police and the DA and the city. And Mr. Steinberg, let me tell you, a person who kills another person is a murderer, whether or not they're a police officer. And if they are a police officer and they kill another person who's unarmed, they're not a public servant.
speaker is Jennifer Emanuel, Gloria Gonzalez, then Jatan Stevens. Jennifer? And Gloria?
Good afternoon, people. My name is Gloria. I'm with the Youth Justice Coalition, and I'm also from Los Angeles. And I'd really like to say that I stand here in solidarity with everyone and with Stephon Clark's family and all the people here from Sacramento. And I just really want to remind all you guys sitting in those seats, as you guys look with blank faces and look like everyone that's speaking sounds crazy, or maybe you just want their time to be done, that you guys are there for the people. You guys are here to serve the people. That's the position. And you, the officer, what's your name? Officer, I can't even see your name.
Please address the city council.
Okay, well,
Please.
the police officer that you guys are saying, you guys don't understand what it looks like, right? You guys don't understand how your police officers are racist. There you go. There's your example. This police officer has been smirking this whole time, and looks like this is not, like this is a joke. And you sit here and shit. Can you see his face? Because if you saw his face, you'd understand what I'm saying. And these lives, these are people's lives that are being taken. This was a person's son that's life was taken. So this is not a joke. And just like everyone else said, you guys are not ready for what's to come. And you guys could keep staring at us like we're stupid or like this is boring, but no, actually people all across California are demanding the same thing. Need to prosecute killer cops. You guys need to hold the police accountable just to the same extent that you hold us accountable. I can't just walk in here and kill you, right? Because I'd go to jail for life, right? But how come police officers aren't held to the same standard?
Next speaker is Jatan Stevens, then Ellie V, then Monica Perez.
Good evening. My name is Jatan Stevens. I am a Sacramento resident. I was born and raised here. I live in District 4. And I'm a local attorney here in Sacramento. I don't really have too much more to add. I just want to say, give my condolences to Stephon Clark's family, and say that I stand in solidarity with all of my fellow community members who have spoken here tonight, as well as last Tuesday. And I really just wanted to come here and bear witness. For the past 2 years, I've been coming to a handful of city council meetings, and I have watched community leaders ask and demand of this council some very simple and basic things. They ask for a police commission where there can be accountability by the community. They asked for a change in the police the use of force policy. And they were asking for independent oversight and independent DA to prosecute when these incidents happen in our community. And we know that this is not the first time that it's happened. And I do have to express that I've been really disappointed when I come to these meetings and we put a policy or we put procedure over the policy that people are asking for. You guys emphasize decorum instead of addressing the substance of what folks were coming up here and asking you for. And I have seen many times where the council has been somewhat dismissive and condescending towards people coming up here expressing their pain and asking for change. And then when this incident happens and the national and international media show up, all of a sudden I'm seeing press conferences and we're gonna have this workshop and we're gonna do this program. Our city council has not been moved with the urgency to protect lives in this community. You guys have been moved to save face before international news cameras, and our community deserves better than that.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Ellie V, then Monica Perez, and then Krista Batista.
My name is Ellie, and I'm also with the Youth Justice Coalition. I'm from LA as well, and I'm here to support the family of Stefan Clark and all of the other families who had loved ones killed by law enforcement. I also, unfortunately, had a loved one killed by law enforcement. My cousin was only 14 years old when he was murdered by Santana Police Department in 2012. He, Stefan, and all the other victims deserved a future. They deserve to be here right now. All of you up here can't possibly fathom the pain that the families experience when our loved ones are killed at the hands of law enforcement. Y'all have become desensitized when these incidents occur because our people are constantly being dehumanized. We see this happen time and time again, and we're still out here fighting for it. And the media, y'all ain't off the hook too. Y'all always criminalize all black and brown people. Y'all only seem to care when it's one of y'all that gets killed. I just want y'all to think about that when y'all get to go home today, because when you guys go home today, y'all still get to hug your loved ones. And y'all took that luxury from us. We don't get to hug our loved ones. Stefan's family does not get to hug him at night because y'all took that from us.
The next speaker is Monica Perez, then Krista Batista, and then Teru Sakaro.
I'd like to say good evening to all of you. You are my community, and you're the reason why I'm here. I have been a social worker for the past 6 years. I have worked in the field of mental health. I have worked for CPS, and now I'm a clinical social worker. I have seen the homelessness and the poverty in our community, and I have seen the lack of resources. So I was moved by Stefan Clark's aunt. I was moved by her speech for her call for mental health providers for our community because they're hurting. I work 2 jobs, but what I am doing is I am volunteering my time. I have gathered about 13 volunteers who are social workers in our community. Some are marriage family therapists and some are clinicians. And we are going to be dedicating our time to you at the San Panel Community Center starting next Thursday. We are going to be providing you with crisis intervention and grief support. Because see, when the cameras are turned off and when we go home, we still have families. I mourn with you. I have a daughter who has mental illness. I know what it's like to see your loved ones struggle and to see the stigma that impacts our community. We have rights. I could have been a statistic. Do you know how many times I ran from the police? What you see now is a woman who just obtained an education because she had the resources and the opportunity. I'm an immigrant. I was illegal. I came here in 1981 from my country, El Salvador. I had nothing but a suitcase and a mattress, which 8 people shared. But I had people that cared for me. And I want you to share that and show that same compassion to these people, to our community. Because we voted you in office, and now we're asking you to do your job. Black lives do matter. My daughters are black, and their lives matters. I am a brown woman. My life matters. So work with us so that we can make progress. If you're interested and you'd like to participate or you need support, you are more than happy to email me at healinghopeandrecovery@gmail.com. I've also created a Facebook page. It's called Healing, Hope, and Recovery. I will be posting information regarding our first meeting, and I hope that you will be there to support.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Next speaker is Krista Batista, then Tradu Sharu, and then Desiree.
Thank you to my community being here today. Thank you to Mayor Steinberg, the council, and Mindy Cuppy, city clerk. I've never spoken up here before. I'm a lifelong resident of Sacramento. I was born and raised here. And I know the difference between right and wrong. When an unarmed man is killed in his grandmother's backyard, it's clear, we all know that that's wrong. It doesn't matter that the person was a police officer doing their job. It's not right. You can feel the pain of the people of this community. You know how dangerous it is when people are deprived of resources, when people have mental illness, and not only mental illness, but have grief on top of that. There are people dying in the streets because they don't have assistance. You've heard that time and time again, and I ask you to understand that if something isn't done differently, we know that you will do your best to help us, but at the same time, you keep saying things, and we know that nothing's changed. So if we keep getting the same stuff, and you say that things are going to change and they don't, a lot of people aren't going to deal with that anymore. We're tired. We're so tired. And I don't know what the future is going to bring, but I know that our community and that our government has the potential and ability to create that change. And I really hope, for the sake of everyone's pain, that it is resolved in a way that can assist everyone. Thank you.
Ardia Sharu, then Desiree, then Ava Nadal.
I think that's me. I don't know if y'all are trying to say Tawhida Shakur, but y'all really messed my name up real bad. But whatever.
Best we can. Please, welcome to you.
Can y'all see this? September 13th, 2017 was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. That's the day my nephew was born, and he's 6 months now. Honestly, when he was born, I was happy. You know, anytime a child is brought into this world, it is a blessing. But being black and living in South Central LA, I know I don't have that luxury. The first thing I thought of was all the systems I would have to protect him from, and all the systems I would continue to have to protect him from. I couldn't even fully be joyful on September 13th. I thought of all the news reporters that would say that my nephew was a criminal, was this and that. And my nephew's 6 months, and I can already envision what the media would paint him as if an officer decided to take his life because he decided to be black and happy and joyful in South Central. That is a burden I should not have to live with. I'm a college student. The only thing I should be, and I'm 22, the only thing I should be worried about is passing classes. But no, I have to worry about every time an officer strolls through my neighborhood. I have to be thankful, and I have to pray every time my 16-year-old brother's name is not on the news. That is a burden I should not have to deal with. And as I once said, I'm from LA, and I'm in solidarity with all the people that have lost their loved ones to police. I don't know what to say to y'all. I don't know how to speak humanity into humanity's room. This is sad. I should not be here. I should be with my nephew. I should not be here, but yet I am here. 7 hours to get here. What are y'all gonna do? That's all I gotta say.
Next speaker is Desiree, then Ava Nadal, then James Sweeney.
As I stand here, I ask each and every one of you to pay attention, to give me your undivided attention, because that's what you're here for. How do you shoot him 8 times without any justification? You're prompting an uprising. This is the birth of a nation. Telling us to stand down, but they're on a paid vacation. We're coming to shut it down and put our feet on the pavement. Tripping is not the word, and crazy is not the gesture. You didn't think we could unite, but now the government's under pressure. We just want some damn justice, and I'm gonna tell you the truth. You're worried about adults, you should be scared of our youth. Yes. Voices are being heard, and royalty is being lifted. You want us to go home. Give us some damn convictions. The helicopter was the witness, and if we're telling the truth, they said they feared for their lives, but he feared for his too. So you guys understand that if someone who doesn't announce themselves on 29th Street in South Sacramento runs from you, it's fear. And that's something that you guys need to fix. You guys need to fix that. Just like they said, you guys knocked on this man. You guys knocked on the door, next door, but you couldn't knock on that door and say, hey, the same thing that you said to them. We think that there's someone that's doing a crime, and we need to check your backyard, like the other house. That did not happen. So now Stefan is dead. And that is not okay. And you all are held accountable for that. And you need to fix it.
Next speaker is Ava Nadal, James Sweeney, then Mike Summers.
I would love to have spoken, but I lost my voice. I'm here on behalf not only for Stefan, but for Wanda, who got hit the other night. She's my friend. She's an ex-member of ACE, and I would like to say that I find it very appalling that when I came home the other night, someone called me and said, you guys have showed the video of Wanda getting arrested a few years ago. I was on my birthday. I'm state representative for ACE, Alliance for California Community Empowerment. Sorry I sound like this. I'm distraught, devastated to see the city in uproar sin. I've been in chambers several times for several fights. I've been a member of ACE for 7 years. I've been secretary, I'm now state representative. I'm national representative for the Center for Popular Democracy. I don't want to strain my voice. I'd rather kind of speak next week when my throat's hurting. So I'll come back and speak. I'll give somebody else the opportunity to take my time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next speaker is James Sweeney, then Mike Summers, then Pastor Jones.
Sweeney.
I've lived here for 20 years. Prior to that, I served on the Police Review Commission in Berkeley, California, with 2 appointments. I've been an appointee of the last 3 governors in the state of California. I served on the Council for Mentally Ill Offenders. My stepfather was a sheriff. But the fact remains that this is wrong. And so I ask you city council members, I ask the mayor, you have an opportunity to make it right. I would like to read something to you that I wrote today. Black Lives Matter. Stop our slaughter and splatter. Black Lives Matter. From sea to shining sea, stop killing me. Stop killing mine. Black Lives Matter. This time, 20 rapid police shots, 8 bullets lodged in the brother's back, another unarmed black gunned down, this time in his grandmother's backyard. Black Lives Matter. The Cali capital, the epicenter of policy, legislation, and strategy. We can make policy sharp enough to cut out the cancer from the state, county, and local level.
Sweeney, if you could wrap up, please.
We do have the answers. Do we have the courage and the will to stop the constant, incessant blood spills? Black Lives Matter. the violence so senseless, so savage and stark. We must always remember Stephon Clark. We in SAC will turn the tide, or we can shuffle, waffle, bow, and hide. Our mayor is white and Jewish. Our city manager is Asian. Our district attorney is a woman, white and gay.
You could wrap it
Our
up,
police
please.
chief is black. Our state attorney general is Latino. 3 city council members are black. 1 is Latino, black, and 10 members of the state legislature are black. Is our rainbow real enough and powerful enough to have the conscience to prevent another whitewash?
Thank you for
another
testifying, Mr.
business
Sweeney.
as
Thank
usual.
you for testifying on that.
We should be compelled to get our solutions right. The world is watching from sea to shining sea. Black lives matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Our next speaker is Mike Summers.
Mike Summers.
Then Pastor Jones, then Cha Vang. Mr. Summers?
I don't know how much more listening you can do. Have you been listening over the last 5 years to Black Lives Matter? Were you listening when NWA said, "Fuck the police"? Were you listening when Tracy Chapman said, "Last night I heard the screaming"? Were you listening when KRS-One said, "I am the authority"? What about Huey P. Newton, MLK, Malcolm X, slave spirituals? People of color have been telling us for a long time, you should just adjourn this meeting and join us for an impromptu press conference proposing radical solutions right now. To be white is to exist in a world where we don't have to even acknowledge our privilege or the terrible actions of our people. More people of color have showed up to the City Council Hall in the last 2 weeks than have been in these chambers for other city business in years. I yield the remainder of my time to any person of color that needs more time.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Pastor Jones, then Cha Vang, then Richard White.
Pastor.
Good evening. I've been at this a long time, more than 50 years. I've been involved with protest. Grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, 10 minutes from Ferguson. Youngest brother is still the mayor of the city next to Ferguson. You saw his city burning. This is the new marching. We are a community. Each of you made promises when you came to our communities and you campaigned and you said you were here because you wanted to make change and make our city better. Black folks have been hearing promises for a long time. We've experienced broken promises. Now, myself, like many of you, have the public trust, and we enjoy a privilege. When we violate the public trust, some of us are held to a higher standard and we're to be held accountable. Physicians, clergy, teachers. When we violate that, we should enjoy the promises that you made. And when we have someone in our ranks and in our community and on our team that put us all at risk because they choose not to uphold the public trust that we enjoy, it overshadows all the good work that you've done, and all of you have done some good things for your community. But it's difficult to hear that. It's difficult to see that when we're doing this all too often. We're coming together because an unarmed or a black man has been killed. It's time that we celebrate our unity and we make some difficult choices and we have the courage to stand up for all of our constituency. We're partners in this. And it's unfortunate when the least of our community suffers, it impacts all of our community, and we are the worst for it. God bless you and thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Speakers Cha Vang, then Richard White, and Andrea Yank.
Good evening. My name is Cha Vang, and I am the Executive Director for Hmong Innovating Politics. I'm here tonight because I wanted to express my support and solidarity with the Black Lives Matter Sacramento and all those seeking justice and accountability on behalf of Stephon Clark. It is important. It's impossible for me and one person to represent a whole entire community, but so I will speak on behalf of those Asian American communities that stand with Black Lives Matter, and we will march with you. We will fight with you, alongside you. In the words of Martin Luther King, it's always the right time to do what's right. And Mayor Steinberg, members of the council, the time is actually now to show the rest of the nation that when diverse communities come together, we can find solutions that dismantle institutions that deny justice for communities of color, and particularly our African American brothers and sisters. It's an important step towards rebuilding trust with the community is to rescind each of your endorsements of the district attorney that is actively working to further criminalize our communities. HIP is a proud member of the Sacramento Unity Coalition, and we are committed to working with each of the council members to seek justice for our brothers and sisters. And we are here in the community, and we stand with Black Lives Matter because we understand that our connection with our communities, and I grew up here in South Sac, so I definitely understand what it means to be a part of this community, and Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Richard White, then Andrea Yank, then Barry Ackius.
Time today, I appreciate it. My name is Richard White. I've been president of this town 55 years. They do it to white people too. 2013, police officers and civilians conspired in Idaho to intimidate my wife with guns to cover up an injury to a 10-year-old boy. I got the body camera footage to prove it. I told you about it. You signed a picture for me. She tried to kill herself last May as a result of this. Destroyed her family. She's on the fucking street. Destroyed her finances. And my work is on Jack Russell's Great White new album. Title, He Saw It Coming. I'm a major artist, and we got issues. Right? She tried to kill herself, ended up in Mercy San Juan Hospital. I saw a patient die in that hospital because they weren't attending to her. Now, being a former fireman, I know something about shit. My wife began to throw up, passed out on her back after I saw this patient die. All right, I panicked. After my wife had been homeless 4 times in the hospital in Spokane Valley on oxygen because cops did it to her. When I blew the whistle, they sent her to a fucking mental institution, and the sheriff's department called me up and had the nerve to ask me if I committed a crime over the phone, sir. Now, the FBI officially, I'm here to tell you and the world, the FBI in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and Sacramento, California, covered up an injury to a 10-year-old boy and targeted my wife to do it, Sandra Mae White. My work's on the new Great White album. I am not going away. I'm going to recommend no more police officers try to target my wife, sir. Appreciate it. That's the fact. My name is Richard White, and I approve that message. You're covering up crimes to children, white people, blacks. Keep attacking us, man. Keep doing that.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Andre Yank, then Barry Ackius, and then Keon Bliss.
I'm not going away.
Andre?
My last name is Young, not Yang.
Young, thank you.
Please. I'm not trying to waste nobody's time up here. And I'm his cousin. You know, I grew up with him. And the one thing I want to say to y'all, man, is I know for a fact that some of y'all up here don't care, man. I'm gonna look dead at y'all in your eye. Y'all don't care about none of these people that's here. Y'all here for a paycheck. Because for first of all, if y'all really cared, y'all would have been charged them. Nobody should be out here protesting. We shouldn't be here having this meeting. You know what I'm saying? Y'all should have been pressed charges and charged them for murder. You know what I'm saying? Because that makes no sense that people got to sit out here and protest and cry. You know what I'm saying? We got to sit up here and cry and show our anger to y'all. And y'all sitting around here thinking that, okay, well, let them. No, man. Because I'm going to tell y'all right now, bro, I'm going to warn every single one of y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a threat to none of y'all. I'm going to warn every single one of y'all. If this verdict don't, put it like this, if this verdict don't go the way it goes, y'all going to see some stuff in Sacramento that y'all don't want to see. That's some real stuff. And I know for a fact none of y'all don't want to deal with it, so all I'm saying is do your job. Y'all know what y'all supposed to do? Y'all seen the video? Y'all got more connections than any of us. Come on now. That's all we want is justice. Y'all need to do your job. Y'all got to do what's right. Because if y'all don't, y'all going to see a city fall, man. And we waiting on y'all to do something. The DA too. Y'all got to do something about this. Because right now, man, my city is crying. I'm not the only one that's crying, man, because I should be out here going crazy because they killed my family. You know, like I should be out here going crazy. I should be in jail right now, but nah, I'm too strong for that. You know what I'm saying? Y'all need to do something about this, and y'all need to do it now. Everybody that's sitting here and saying stuff, y'all need to let this be heard in y'all head and y'all sleeps. Dream about this, because I'm gonna tell y'all right now, if we don't get a real verdict, y'all gonna see Sacramento fall, and that's all I gotta say to y'all.
Speaker is Barry Ackius, then Kian Bliss, then Tanya Faison.
It's Barry Ackius.
Okay.
Barry Ackius.
Clerk's doing her best to pronounce the
I
names
know.
the best she can, so please. Please.
Do you
Barry,
fear me, officer?
Welcome. Please, that's not fair to the clerk.
Do you fear me, officer? Will you shoot me in the back, officer? I have a cell phone and I have a hoodie on, officer.
Sir,
That
I'd
right
like you to
there.
speak from the podium, please, not from over there. You speak from the podium.
That right there is a reflection of what we see every day. Cold stare. The whole time from 5 to now, he's had that look. And I've watched other officers with some bit of compassion, but I'm looking at that officer, and I'm asking if he fears me, but we fear him because he has all the power. And when that officer walks outside, holding a grudge for the people that are speaking truth to power, pulls us over, who knows who's going to be the next victim? Because I am Stephon Clark. I had the hoodie. I had the cell phone. He couldn't even look at me. He just sits there, cracking his knuckles, waiting for some move from someone in the community that he serves.
We're looking at you.
But understanding what we're saying, when we look at that man right there, because all of us have looked at that man right there, we see judge, jury, and executioner. And that is the issue. If you have heartless people working the beat, how can we have the heart to fix the problems in the city? And the fact that knowing some of you guys, working with some of you guys, and looking at what the DA's record is and seeing some of your names, it's repulsing. It's disrespectful. It's a bad look. And I would love to hear the explanation for why. So we have a moment of truth. That moment is here. As we all know, I hold the same sentiments as my other community partners hold. Sacramento is not ready for this next level. We're not. But I do believe that Sacramento can be the face of a national change to make policing look different. I do believe in that. And I'm optimistic about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Speaker is Keon Bliss, then Tanya Faison, then Sedalia King.
I'd like Tanya Faison to go first. She's ready.
won't take long. Adrian Ludd, Dejan Fleno, Joseph Mann, Jason King, Armani Lee, Desmond Phillips, Lorenzo Cruz, Zatira Abraham, James Nelson, Ryan Ellis, Michael McIntyre, and now Stefan. How many more? I said everything that I wanted to say last week, but really, how many more? There needs to be real change. It needs to be at every level, the city, the county, the state level. And we're gonna be in the streets tomorrow, National Day of Action. We're gonna be in the streets Thursday, and every week until we get justice. Every single week, through elections, all that. We're not gonna stop. None of us are. And we're tired, but we're not gonna stop. So expect to see us until you do the right thing.
Next speaker is Keon Bliss, and then Sedalia King, and then Kai.
I'm not sure what more I can add to this conversation that hasn't already been said to you over and over and over again. I hear y'all talk a lot about wanting change, about how we need to, we are going to create change if we elect you. Talk a lot about change. We talk a lot in this country about change. And yet, how much have we actually changed? From the beginning of this country, we have literally been a nation founded upon the property rights of a few at the expense of human rights for the many. Our very Constitution was written as a property rights document that added a paltry few human rights as an afterthought. And even those paltry few rights that were given to the people only applied to white men with property, excluding the vast majority of the American public. Women, black and brown people of color, the indigenous, and even white men without property were generally excluded from those protections. The history of the United States can literally be seen as one long, ongoing struggle into this day for human rights and recognition. Y'all talk about racism as if it's just the sum of individual prejudices and biases, as if it's synonymous with prejudice. It is not. It is a system, an interlocking web of institutions, social, political, economic, cultural, legal, media, educational, and particularly law enforcement and military. Racism in this country is practiced as white supremacy. Racism takes many forms, but in this country it is white supremacy, which means white culture, its values, its norms, and its principles are considered the accepted value.
Please sum up. Ken, thank you.
My summary is, y'all are part of the political end of that system, and you all aren't changing it from within. If you want, we need to change this. Y'all need to get the fuck out of our way so that we can actually
Excuse me,
change
you're
it.
done now. Thank you.
Shut the fuck up.
Thank you. You're done.
Speaker is Sedalia King, then Kai, then Angela Williams.
Good evening.
Wow. Good evening. My name is Sedalia King. Thank you for trying. And I'm the president of the Black Young Democrats of Sacramento. I'd like to open with a quick overview of what the club is, what it does. We were chartered by the County Democratic Party just last year. So we're relatively young. I do want to emphasize the fact that our club, we weren't wanted. They didn't want us to exist. They initially told us no. And then folks from the community came out and said that this club is necessary because the young black voice is definitely missing when it comes to local and statewide politics, really. And honestly, it was just me and a couple black kids that got together and decided that we wanted to form a club because we were tired of being the only black faces in very so few spaces when it comes to politics. And honestly, if our voices were available to be heard in spaces such as yours that are exclusive to you, then I'm sure something like what happened to Stephon Clark would never have happened. Someone would have spoke up, someone would have said something, someone would have said that was a bad idea, would have offered a suggestion, something that could save lives, but it wasn't available. And that's ultimately our club's goal, to provide a voice for an access, an opportunity to spaces where otherwise we would be shut out of. And I implore you to all consider putting that as part of your package deal of you being a representative. And then, so since the club fought to our existence, we've been busy. We've done several endorsements that we're all proud of, including for the DA's race. I do believe he's in the back of the room as well. And we're very proud of him. He completed a questionnaire that we were told that was very difficult, and that's fine.
Well, if you could please.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
What I want to emphasize is that we stand by our endorsement. And unfortunately, it looks like you're going to have to repeal yours because she's problematic. And she's problematic. And this wasn't the first time we heard that she was a problem. So I would like to extend an invitation to you all because now, for the most part, people are done having meetings. And we're now bridging the gap between the activists and the architects. And the Black Young Democrats are the architects. And we're here to create a plan to provide initiative. So if you want to see something being done.
I look forward to sitting down with you the next few days.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I encourage all of you to reach out. You can find us at sacbyd@gmail.com. And we also have our meeting for our new next set of endorsements next Wednesday. And I hope to see folks out here for that as well because we're looking at sheriffs. We're looking at sheriffs.
Glad you came in. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kai. It's Khy, and then Angela Williams, then Stacy Dossman.
Just testing the mic real quick. Can people hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I usually don't come to these kind of things. I know they happen. It's really no secret that people like you that are on this council are desensitized to the community. Your energy is very pretentious. We know that you're looking at us and you're mocking us, and you don't really hear what the community is saying, what the community is asking for. As people have already stated, you're kind of just here for a paycheck, and it shows. It's very apparent. People brought up how there's a rainbow of people, well, almost a rainbow, and how that rainbow is still not very effective. For us to be in California and Sacramento, supposedly one of the most progressive places in this nation and one of the most progressive cities, I don't see much progression.
Amen, brother.
You know, I want to assume better of this council, but actions and certain endorsements illuminate a corrupted reality. I want to bring back the fact that people have warned you and made you aware that Sacramento is getting tired. Sacramento is very, very, extremely tired and exhausted and fatigued of coming here and bringing things to you for them to be discarded and put under the rug. You know, one of the things I was told by someone much older than me that I take with much respect was something that was, what is buried will manifest into disease. And right now, you've buried a lot, and it's showing that California is quite rotten. Sacramento is quite rotten.
Yeah, indeed.
Disease has manifested, and people are now uprising. If you don't push Schubert to convict, and if you guys take inaction, there will be rioting, and we know all your names. A lot of your information is public. We will make sure that...
But is that a threat?
It's not a threat. I'm just letting you know that we know who you are, and you're supposed to be a part of this community.
Your time's
and
up.
so in order for us to trust you, you need to take the actions to prove that we should be trusting you, because if you do not, then we will put the pressure on you, and you know that, and I can see that you feel the pressure that I'm putting on you.
You're right.
And I am glad that you feel that pressure, because if you don't do what you need to do, you're going to feel more than just me speaking to you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Angela Williams, Stacy Dossman, and then Flo Coffer.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Dr. Angela Williams. I'm a part of the Nehemiah Emerging Leaders Program. I've met most of you in many different capacities, at the Capitol, where I've worked for 25 years, in the community. One of you, at least, I went to school with. 50 years ago, none of you would be on the dais. And the reason why none of you would be on the dais is because Sacramento was a segregated town built on white supremacy. That is important to know and understand, because that is your task. I do not envy your task. I have great empathy for your task, but your task is to uproot structural inequality and white supremacy in this city. That's the task. Because Stephon Clark is you. You are not multi-generationally wealthy people. You are people that come from communities. You come from the Jewish community. You come from the Italian community. You come from the Latino community. You come from the Asian Pacific Islander community. You come from women. You come from men. You come from gay. You come from straight. Remember, all of those ethnic enclaves that built this city, they started off deeply entrenched in poverty. They started off highly policed. They started off being profiled. What you are tasked to do is to bring the last vestige of segregation in this city down. You are Stephon Clark. It's you. He's not separate from you, he is you. So what can, in conclusion, the council do? Just as there is an underground city here that was flooded and you built on top of it, all of the laws related to policing, all of the laws related to housing are built from that foundation of segregation. We are with you if you are with us to destroy the last vestige of white supremacy and segregation in this town.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Thank you.
Speaker is Stacy Dossman, Flo Coffer, and then Shalea Andrews.
Hi, my name is Stacy Dossman. I've been here since the beginning, and I've been contemplating speaking because I'm very emotional. I'm angry, and I'm hurt. I didn't know Stephon Clark, but I love him. I'm a mother of an 18-year-old black young man who recently got his driver's license, and that conversation has turned from me watching him leave the house with his hoodie on because he's cold, watching him leave and running to my cell phone to remind him to remove his hoodie because I don't want him stopped because of it. And in return, he tells me, well, maybe if I keep the hoodie on, they can't see that I'm black. Take it off, son, take it off. Just take it off. That's my response to him. Since this has happened, what's been happening in my home is this, because you haven't had the same conversations that I've had with a young 18-year-old black boy. When I watched that video, I asked my son to view it with me. He turned to me and he asked, so if I'm ever in a position where I need to put my hands up, should I just drop? Or should I face them? Should I turn? And my response is, you just drop. Don't make no sudden moves. Don't do anything. You just drive. And as a mother, that's hard for me. I've been reliving what I saw on that tape over and over again, and it's wrong. I don't care what you thought he did. It was wrong. In any situation where I'm afraid, I know to run away from it, to back down. What they did was they ran into the situation, afraid, which is why you had 8 bullets in that young man and 12, God knows where. Because they were afraid and they were shooting as if they were afraid. So when my son asked, well, Mom, well, why 20 times? Because we're talking about it. 20 times? What do you say to your kid when he asks you why 20 times? He wasn't shooting back, Mom. So why did they keep shooting? I've sat in my chair in my office and I've said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many? He wasn't moving. When he dropped, he didn't move anymore. I couldn't shoot a bird 20 times. A bird.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Speaker is Flo Coffer, and then Shalea Andrews. Flo?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm here today to talk to you about 2 things and to make 2 requests. The first thing I want to talk to you about is community trauma, because I feel like there's been a disconnect between our city's leadership and the community. The reason why people showed up last week, the reason why there has not been a day that's gone by without protests, is because our community is traumatized. There is an epicenter when a trauma occurs, much like a natural disaster, and it ricochets outward. And there have been many of these traumas that have happened in this community that have ricocheted outward. And so one of the things that I'm charging this city council and mayor to do is to come up with an emergency response plan for community trauma, much like you would do if there was a hurricane or a tornado or an earthquake. Yes. One that's responsive, because when people come up and they may not be prepared and they may not speak the Queen's English, but they come up and they're sharing their pain, there needs to be a way that responds to that in a way that is responsive but is not traumatizing. Yes. And what I've seen is a re-traumatization because of a lack of trust and because of a history of trauma. So I'm charging you with that tonight. The next thing I'm charging you with is for each and every one of you, and I'm going to look in your eyes as best I can, is to rescind your endorsement of the district attorney. There are many things that are beyond your control at this point. You're not the district attorney, you're not in other positions. But what you do have the power over is your own voice and your own name. You were not elected as a body, you were elected individually to represent the communities that you live in and you are responsive to. And an endorsement of this district attorney is not only counterproductive, she's been against the Prop 47 measure, she's been pro-incarceration, and she is viewed by many as being obstructionist to the very things that you stand for, that many of you have staked your entire careers on. And so what I'm asking you to do is to really think critically about this, because this is not business as usual. We will not forget about this just because you're not up for election this year. This community will remember. They will remember the trauma that happened. When there's a trauma, people remember very vividly what happened around that time. So I'm asking you all to show some leadership, to show some courage, to show some courage, and to break from tradition and rescind this endorsement. It makes no sense. She's never given you anything to warrant your name being behind her, and that is your political capital. That is the thing you have to offer, and it is the thing that you should take away. Thank you.
Andrews is our next speaker, Shalea Andrews, and then Jose Villanueva.
Okay, so I'm not good with words, but I wanted to come up anyways. I've been protesting every day with my family and the new people we've just met. of the community, but I protest for my little brother, for myself, for my family. My little brother is only 14. He's bigger than I am. I have to tell him he can't play outside. He can't ride his bike even in front of the house. I don't want him out, period. He's not allowed to be outside by himself unless he's with us at all times. The other day we were protesting right in front of the DA's office, blocking off the intersection, and this man comes by terrified. You could see it in his face. He was scared for his life to walk near us to see us. And he actually showed up here today. And he sat here and he listened to all of us. He's still here. And he's listening. And he doesn't have to be here. He's not in our situation. He's privileged. He lives downtown. He probably has a job somewhere in one of these city buildings, but he's here listening. But our own mayor can't listen to us. He doesn't have to be here. He doesn't get treated the way we do. I think the biggest thing that we have the problem with is the police brutality. I mean, like, I pushed papers off of a table, and I was dragged across the front of my school. So bad that my back was popping out so big. My mom has the picture of it. And nothing happened. They don't care. They put you on probation for that. I was handcuffed as it was happening because I wouldn't lay flat on my face. I was sitting up. He dragged me. Your shirt was ripped? Yeah, my shirt was ripped off of me. He dragged me across, and there was no video to be given. Right in front of the school for pushing papers off of a table. And no video was given. It was right in front of the school. They don't care about us. They get away with these things. And I believe in destiny. I believe in the power of the universe. A year to that date that he assaulted me that way, and he brought me out of like being a human, a year to that date, he died. He was killed. He was shot and killed. Just think a lot of things that you do, you give off bad energy, you get it back. You give good energy, you get it back. We want justice. We don't want to have to keep on saying, okay, it happened to me too, it happened to me too. Nothing to do about it. We need our justice, and we're not going to stop. We're going to protest every day. Every day we're going to protest. You guys make it like we're rioters, like we're just some hoodlum children. No. We're freedom fighters. We're going to protest.
Villanueva, and Jose is our last speaker for this evening.
I'd like to first thank everyone that came out here today, express their sentiments about what's been going on in the city. Just reiterating what everyone has to say, especially to my District 5 person over here, Jay. Cops have been terrorizing these neighborhoods for quite a while. Just hearing my dad talk about what he had to go through about getting beat up by police when he was growing up. Just him. Just getting thrown in the lawn and shit. And now I think I talk to my nephew and my little cousin. Both black. Both all look black. Don't even look Mexican, just look all black. I have to tell them. Because that's what they see on the news. Every day. On national news. And here in Sacramento, another young black boy shot, killed, for no fucking reason. And sorry for my language. Just to see it. I cried. I cry every night. I have depression and anxiety. I always cry. So when I see shit like that, it just tears me up. What am I supposed to tell, all my cousins, my friends that are black and brown, to trust the cops? When something bad happens to them, do you have to trust the cops? No. We can't do that. And just to see all your faces throughout the whole night, just hurting a stern look. And believe me, I studied law in high school. I know, they desensitize you. They teach you all this stuff. I study media. I study journalism too, with all these cameras in your face. They tell you what the biggest news is and how to chase it. I study communication. That's why I'm a social behavioral communication major now. Because I want to get people. Because I don't want to be desensitized. That's why I'm crying right here. That's why I feel all these guys' sentiments when they talk about all their stories. I want to make a change. But you know what? I don't think going to law is going to be that change. because I already know for a fact they're going to put me in their system. So I'm doing it myself now. I'm doing my own blog. I'm doing everything I can in my own way. Because I don't want to grow up and see my nephew and cousin out in the street in their 20s in a hoodie getting chased by police. Because civil disobedience should be a death sentence. And that's the major thing.
Thank you.
All power to Black Lives Matter.
I'd like to say a couple words here. I want to thank all of you who took the time tonight to speak from your heart and from your head. And there are many audiences. There are those who came tonight. There are those who didn't come here tonight who may be watching, and those who are not. I want to say a few words to those of you who took the time to come tonight. I don't expect many of you who testified tonight to believe me, but I am hurting with you, and we are hurting with you. And I'm not asking for your patience, because you will either give us a chance to make the essential changes or you won't. And for me, I am willing to be judged by what we do to genuinely help people in our communities, in our neighborhoods who are hurting at every level, in every way, whether it's housing, jobs, in human and civil rights, and to live up to the truth that you came here to speak tonight, that Black Lives Matter. Councilman Carr.
Thank you, Mayor. Earlier today, I asked for a report back on our legislative agenda, which tells the people who deal with the Capitol and federal government what we want as a city. And I asked them to bring back two things. One, support for joining those voices who are calling for a statewide independent prosecutor to take the prosecution of lethal events at the hands of law enforcement out of the hands of the DA, all the local DAs, and into the hands of a statewide prosecutor. The second thing I asked for was that we join those voices who are looking for a revision to all laws, statutes that reduce transparency and make it and shield law enforcement from accountability. And that would include a review and revision of the Police Officers' Bill of Rights. If you look at the shooting of Stephon Clark, it's very disturbing. And you know it doesn't look right. It just doesn't look right, and many of you have raised those issues. The outcome of what happened was definitely wrong. More information is coming and more investigations are pending. But for now, it just doesn't look right. In the city, we can do essentially three things. We can hire, we can reprimand, or we can terminate. So those who ask for the city to prosecute someone is really beyond what we can do. The district attorney is the prosecutor and they bring prosecutions. There are a bunch of laws at the state level as well as at the federal level that really protect law enforcement when they are in a lethal confrontation in the line of duty. Some of those need to be changed. I have asked SEIU and NAACP to join this council once we pass the provisions in our legislative agenda to work with us to get those laws changed. Your voices at the state level would be very, very helpful. Your voices at the federal level would be very, very helpful in getting the laws changed, which tend to limit transparency and where there's wrongdoing to actually shield. So we as a council really can't make up our minds until we've seen all of the information, until the investigation is complete. But for right now, it looks like it's not right. And the outcome looks definitely wrong. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Carr, appreciate your request you made earlier today at our earlier council meeting, and I support it. You know, I too was saddened and really sickened by what I saw. First of all, what I heard, and then what I saw, and to think that you could be chased to your grandparents' backyard and to have your life end in the way that we saw on the TV, I think was truly an outcome that was beyond my expectation, our expectation as a council. We know that there's still a lot of information that is yet to come out. However, whatever the crime was, in my opinion, the punishment did not meet the crime. Yeah. And so, Councilman Carr, I would like to, in addition to what you've requested today, I had also requested that we really look at our audio and video body equipment that our police officers use, and that we need to really look at the ordinance as it relates to that, and to make sure that we understand that the body camera that we approve through our budget and the audio that the public pays for with tax dollars is put there for transparency. And I would like to really look at this ordinance as it relates to any manipulation by officers wearing body camera, either audio or video, that there is some type of disciplinary action. And I have in mind what I would like to request, but I'd like to fully understand the ordinance first, which we'll go through next week. But then also to understand that there should be a fair and just process. But first and foremost, we need to go about building the trust from our police department to the people that live in our city. We cannot have our community on edge and fearful of our police officers. And it, in my opinion, it is in the police's best interest as well. The police should not be fearful to be in our communities. They should not have to shoot first, ask questions later. And so, as tragic as this situation is, and this is truly a tragic situation, and you know, I heard the young lady talk about her son, and then I heard another one come up and talk about her nephews. I too have two young sons, and I have to honestly say that I fear for them as well, that there could be some issue that would cause a very tragic reaction that would happen to them. And I believe it is our responsibility as public servants that we work to get this situation right, so that we do not continue to have these issues come back to this council, to this city, and our community year after year after year. And so I know our mayor has said he's committed, as am I. Next week we're going to have a discussion about it. But, you know, when I was, and I'll end with this, when I was 8 years old, there was a young superstar athlete in this city who was a high school student. His name was Raymond Brewer. Some of you may remember Raymond, some of you may have heard of him, but his family was from the North area, and he was a tremendous athlete. And this city came to the brink in 1972 because this young man was shot and killed, unarmed. At that time, there was a lot of publicity around this case. But that moment, that issue has scarred me as now a 53-year-old man from when I was 8 years old. It gave me a consciousness as an 8-year-old that maybe I don't believe 8-year-olds should have to go through. To understand that somebody might shoot me or harm me because I was a young African-American man. And I remember my mother having to sit me down and tell me that these kinds of things took place, and it was very traumatic because I wanted to believe that everybody did the right thing all the time. And I'm not suggesting that these officers didn't do the right thing, but I'm suggesting that the outcome was not the outcome that we expected, and we do need to go through this process, but it's happening far too often, and we have to do what we can to stop it. So, again, Councilman Carr, I support your recommendation.
Please, Councilman Carr.
I just wanted to cover one aspect of people's presentations that we hadn't covered. And, Alan, I grew up in the South, in Virginia, in the 50s and the 60s. And I understand bias, prejudice, and discrimination. I had to ride on the back of the bus. We grew up dirt poor, living in the projects after my dad left. And I understand how all of that feels. One aspect of what people talked about tonight were, in addition to the Stephon Clark, were the run-ins with police, with the way that the police were treating people in their estimation. And we've gone through great lengths to establish an Office of Public Safety and Accountability. And we've gone to great lengths to put cameras on each of our police officers. If we could make sure that everyone knew how to contact that office in a timely fashion when they have any dispute, we can take it to the tape. And we can make sure that the complaints are adjudicated properly. So I see Francine back there. That's one thing we have to figure out. How do we make sure that people know that there's a place when they have a minor scrape with the police officer or any law enforcement officer that belongs to the city, that there is recourse. They can file a complaint and it will be investigated.
Excuse me. The role of that office will be part of next week's agenda. Thank you, Councilmember Warren, Councilmember Carr, Councilmember Guetta.
It's been a long night, Mr. Mayor, so I will keep it short, and I do want to thank thank both Councilmember Carr and Councilmember Warren, how eloquent they were in their remarks, and I won't repeat them. But I do want to make sure that we don't leave tonight acknowledging a couple, not even a couple, there are numerous things about what the community is also asking for, which is the equity in what we're doing to provide better resources for the neighborhoods. And there's been so much energy that we've done for the development of downtown, for the Renaissance. If it's good enough for downtown, it should be good enough for the other boulevards in our communities. And I think, Mr. Mayor, you've done a tremendous job of stepping that vision forward, but I think we need to take a more proactive policy that all our policies start looking at equity as part of our lenses, to making sure that we're doing things for Meadowview and Stockton Boulevard. I don't want to make sure we leave tonight without talking about those challenges of economic development, social development, and everything that's been mentioned tonight. Thank you.
And housing.
And housing.
At all levels, there will be change in Sacramento. We're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you for a productive evening. Thank you.